shaking, fellas? Man, some wild shit going down today, I guess. Apparently, that Barack Ravid guy at Axios cut loose some either a transcript or a telephone call between Netanyahu and Trump. Yo, check this out. Man. Apparently, Trump did not have nice things to say to Mr. Netanyahu. Somebody made an AI.
In prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this. You are fucking crazy.
I mean, those are the words just done with AI, but Trump, everybody hates Israel. Axios reports Trump yelled at Netanyahu over the phone, telling him not to attack Beirut. You're fucking crazy. Be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this. Yo, and that's not even the bro. Mark Levin did this long, super long post about it. I mean, it wasn't that long, but it was a couple paragraphs. You know, basically acting as though he's the mouthpiece for America again. You know, like stepping up and saying, "Oh, whoever leaked this, you know, that's a grave blah blah blah, this and that," and it's just like, bro, who the hell are you? I mean, obviously, this guy isn't just. Obviously, this guy. I mean, it's not believable. He's just a podcast or a radio host. Listen to this. The leak in Axios was a violation of federal law and provided support to the Iranian regime. Make sure that my fucking mic's on. Okay, it is on. Good. Yeah, anyhow, you know, Iranian regime and its Hezbollah proxy. Like, bro, this sounds like he's a cop or he's like the head of the FBI or something. Whomever leaked that story to Barack Ravid at Axios did a grave disservice to our country, to our president, to Israel, and to Israel's prime minister. The Iranian regime will benefit from that leak, viewing us as weak and desperate for a deal, even coming to Hezbollah's defense. The Israeli people will also be furious. Who gives a shit? Barack Ravid isn't working for the Israeli media. That was absolutely incumbent upon this Barack Ravid guy to expose this, to put this in the news. We absolutely deserve to hear this kind of stuff. Missiles are aimed at them, not Washington. And for 100 other reasons, what was thought to be a devastating political hit on Netanyahu by the leakers about a private call between heads of state has done much damage to us and our military and our diplomatic strategy. Does anybody believe that this guy actually gives a damn about us and our country and everything surround? Like, this guy doesn't give a damn about America. And if the leakers or others believe Israel should abandon its survival for some deal, they will have a very hard lesson to learn. If the substance of the call is accurate, it is bad enough in my view. Will there be an FBI investigation to determine who leaked? If not, why not? Well, is there going to be an FBI investigation into the attempted assassination of Trump or Charlie Kirk's assassination? Like, it's incredible, man. Like, how is he, it's like he's high up in our, I don't know, man. It's incredible. I mean, you'd think he was the president. And that's really starting to get under my skin. Why is this fat little pudgy scumbag, you know, the one in charge, like seems to be the one calling the shots? But, you know, honestly, I kind of agree with Crystal Ball here. How many times have they sold and resold the same story about Biden and now Trump being secretly very, very mad at Netanyahu? She's right. This is like the third time. They did it with Biden, did it with Trump at the beginning. They don't know what the F they're doing. And they did it this time too. It's like, bro, this stale crap. And I believe Barack Ravid worked for the IDF, I want to say. So really, maybe all of that was just a bunch of garbage. Like everything, what Mark Levin posted, it's all trying to give Trump this veneer of objectivity, objectivity, and it's garbage. It's not true. The guy is totally in the tank, and I kind of agree with Crystal Ball here. I don't believe a word of it. I think America on as a whole I mean, they're really overplaying their hand. That stuff with Cenk Uygur, that was a worldwide news story. Hey, what's up, Christopher? That was a worldwide news story. And at least Western wide. I mean, it was plastered all over Western civilization. Pierce Morgan, I was just watching that. I'm switch over to it now, but Pierce Morgan had him on and stuff. Well, he was supposed to be in person. I mean, Israel is not making it better for them. So they're just making it worse and worse and worse and worse. They keep stepping on their own dick. Which is, the fact that they're banning people from moving around the West freely. We're supposed to be this free society, free and democratic society. That's not the case, obviously, not anymore. And I don't think a lot of people are dismissing how big of a deal it is that Cenk has been banned from the UK. I mean, that's like, I'm genuinely worried about that. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. That scares me. The country that we have a special relationship with, like, how is it that Israel is just all powerful, man?
As you'd expect, saying cancel it on Truth Social, calling the performance overpriced and boring. Should it be cancelled? Are these people overreacting? Are they politicizing it themselves?
No, it is crazy. He says, all these people have the yips. All these people are chirping. It's like, lest we forget, was Trump not the one chirping when it was Bush leading one of these crazy crusades? Literally, Trump was one of the chirpers, the yippers. And that bullcrap about him saying, relax, calm down, everything is going to be fine. Because it always is. Bro, just because you don't know, you're afraid of a mutiny. Like, everything's going to be all right. Okay, man. I mean, this could turn into a world war. The Ukraine-Russia front is not that far away from the Iran front. We could end up in a world war against like China, Russia, Iran, and they would crush us. They would crush us, man. We buy all of our munitions from China and stuff. It's just, and they've given this, Russia has given like an ultimatum to us. Like, you better get your people out of Kiev. You better get your people out of Kiev. Like they're fixing to, drop a nuke or something on Kiev. And Blumenthal, that scumbag, comes out and, we will not abandon Ukraine and this and that. Well, I don't think Russia's really asking anymore. Like that, they've had enough. Like, you got to get out of this is our area. This is our sphere of influence. You need to get the hell out. And all of, like, I seen this guy that was Fox News talking head. He was one of the hosts in their Sunday morning show or weekday morning show. And he was talking about how it's obviously an embezzlement scheme, Ukraine, because Ukraine, they buy a bunch of these Swedish jets from the Swedes. I forget what they're called. Start with a G. They bought like 20 of them, billions of dollars or millions of dollars in jets, and the guy brought up a salient point. He's saying, like, what? This is obvious BS, because who in their right mind believes that Russia is going to allow those planes to land in Ukraine? They can literally just destroy them en route. And he's like, this is obvious embezzlement, because they're talking, we got new equipment. And it's like, no equipment is getting into Ukraine. No heavy military equipment like jets and tanks. And I was thinking, that sounds pretty on point to me. Like, yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. Or like, it's just turned into all these things. They're like money sinks for our taxes. It's just, and a lot of what Biden sent to Ukraine ended up right back in Biden's campaign coffers. The same money that was sent over there so they could buy weapons ends up in Joe Biden's bank accounts or his campaign uh, funds. I mean, it's so crooked, man, so corrupt.
What's your view?
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate. I think, whoever booked them, if they didn't make perfectly clear exactly what they were being asked to do and why, failed and set the White House up for an embarrassment, because it's pretty foreseeable that anybody saying they're going to perform at a Trump event is going to get political blowback. But honestly, shame on them for not.
YouTuber whose self-made business was at the vanguard of a shift from legacy to digital media. He's an outspoken critic of America's meddling in foreign conflicts and of foreign meddling in America's politics. He's a failed presidential candidate, an unashamed hothead, an acquired taste. One thing he's certainly not, though, is an extremist or a dangerous purveyor of threatening hate speech, unless that is, you're the British government. Last night, Cenk Uygur planned to board a flight to London, and to be told that the UK authorities had revoked his permission to enter the country. Among other things, he'd been invited to speak at South by Southwest London, to give a speech at Oxford University, and to take part in a debate in this very studio. The UK Home Office doesn't publicly disclose why it bans anyone, but Cenk says he was told that he poses a serious risk to public order because of his commentary on Israel. Well, a very detailed report appeared in the Times newspaper quickly after Cenk himself got the news. It refers to his framing of the Gaza war as a genocide and his view that the pro-Israel lobby has a big influence on US politics, as well as other comments made on my show. You may not agree with any of Cenk's positions, but anyone with even the faintest grasp of popular discourse will know they are mainstream opinions which are freely debated almost every single day. By this standard, half of the guests on the show will be banned from Britain. And on that point, Cenk's nephew, Hassan Piker, another uncensored guest and a very popular streamer, is also banned. Yeah, he's mainstream enough to appear alongside leading Democrats
like get them banning Hassan. I get that. He's pretty radical. He says some pretty wild stuff. But Cenk Uygur, I mean, people call him a buffoon because that's kind of what he is. I mean, and I say buffoon as in like he gets all riled up and starts impersonating people and like pretending he's Israel. Bow to your, you know what I mean? Like it is very performative and buffoonish. But nobody takes that stuff like super serious. Like nobody thinks he's violent or he's an anti-Semite or any such nonsense like that. So it's unsettling. It's unsettling that all of a sudden the West, this supposed to be this paragon of liberal ideals, well, it's totally illiberal when it comes down to it, when push comes to shove. And the fact that we're being told to swallow immigration and all this bullshit that we have been fighting for years now. They're telling us to just, if we don't have a choice, we're a liberal democracy. But at the same time, they ban people from American citizens from going to the UK. It's like, bro, I don't want to hear that shit no more. You need to stop the immigration. You need to get these people out of our country. Obviously, we're under an authoritarian regime, so we don't want to hear that garbage anymore. We are under tyranny. This is tyranny, man. That is exactly, and they have a pretty little facade and everybody still kind of thinks of America as this city on a shining city on a hill, but that's not the case. Cenk being banned from the UK has totally unmasked that disguise. We're being outright tyrannized. It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse.
And AOC, but apparently he's too hot for we Brits to handle. Well, Cenk Uygur actually joked about all this a few weeks ago.
I'm coming to London in a couple of weeks, as you know, Piers, and I intend to greatly offend Israel. I don't know if I'll be arrested over there. You know, they have some absurd laws in England. My nephew, Hassan Piker, is coming with me, and he might be arrested because some pro-Israel people think that they can say anything they want about Muslims, but the minute you touch Israel, not even Judaism, they think you should be arrested. Obviously, that kind of double standard is unacceptable and is the, you know, refuge of cowards.
It is.
Well, he hasn't been arrested, but he has been banned, and all of this amounts to a colossal embarrassment for the UK, which already has an unwanted
They should
global
be
reputation for
embarrassed.
authoritarian crackdowns on social media users. And it's yet another example of censoring the criticism of Israel. It should be blindingly obvious that there's a huge difference between criticizing the actions of a nation state and its government and the hate-filled diatribes of Kanye West or indeed Valentina Gomez. But my country is losing the ability to see that difference. It won't be long before that's something which threatens all of us. Well, joining me now is Cenk Uygur, founder and CEO of the Young Turks, and Chabos Kestenbaum, commentator with PragerU, both of whom are due to be in this studio with me to debate in person before the British Home Office intervened. Well, before I get to Cenk, you know, Chabos, credit to you, because your first reaction publicly about this was to say how outraged you were by this ban and how wrong it was. Just explain why.
Sure. Well, it's good to see both of you, if not in person, at least virtually. And that's because of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk always taught me that the best way to combat bad ideas is with better ideas. It's not with censorship. I'm half British, as I think I mentioned on the show before. My parents
under the free speech thing, and we all deal with it. Like, you know, you don't even open your mouth if you're just going to say, stop talking, be quiet. You know what I mean? Like, you don't open your mouth to refute somebody unless you're going to refute them. I mean, because the telling them to shut up is like kind of moot. It's ridiculous. And that's how we all live. Like, and this is it's absurd, but it's also, you know, this is a tragic event, like not good. You know, this is what this portends for the future should have everybody scared. Like, you know, anybody who doesn't take this deathly serious, you know, he'd only look at the, you know, the 80s with the Berlin Wall. Like, that's essentially what this is. It's like, you know, we fought the Soviet Union because of this exactly. And now all of a sudden we're worse than the Soviet Union. This is crazy.
Born and raised here. My whole extended family still live in London. And to me, England is a country that produced the Magna Carta. You know, this is a country of thinkers like John Locke and Edmund Burke, and I find the deterioration of free speech, the erosion of free speech in the United Kingdom in particular, to be incredibly worrisome. I would add, I'm not entirely clear what the reasons were, because I think, Cenk, if you're being intellectually honest, you will also admit you were not given specific reasons. Was it because you're anti-Israel? It's possible. I'm not disputing that. But we also have to keep in mind that there are a whole host of people that have been barred from entering the UK that did not elicit the same outrage. People like, you know, Ezra Levant. I mean, he's pro-Israel as they come, and I'm not entirely clear why he was rejected. People like Don Keith, people like Dominic Tarczynski, who I believe was on your show.
Well, I had Don Keith on only last week after the Tommy Robinson march, and I gave him plenty of time to try and explain why he felt he'd been banned, and I didn't understand it. Now, you know, Valentina Gomez to me is a different situation. She's somebody who is openly, brazenly, hatefully bigoted towards Muslim people because they're all Muslim. She hates them all and wants to whip up hatred about them. I didn't see Don Keith in that category at all, and I don't see you, Cenk Uygur, in that category at all either. You know, you've been probably my most regular guest on Uncensored since we began. And sometimes I'm concerned about your blood vessels. But when it comes to what you say about Israel, I've been, you know, listening very intently. You've always been very careful to maintain your criticism of Israel and its government in particular and its decisions. But I've never heard you espouse any anti-Semitism. Never heard you be hateful about Jewish people or anyone because of their faith or their ethnicity. So I just don't understand what rationale the UK
only
government
Israelis and
possibly
Jews
have
are allowed
for
to
banning
hate.
you. Have you been able to find out any more?
They're the only ones that are allowed to be racist and allowed to hate.
So let's break it down. So I go to the airport and they just say that I've been rejected by the British government and I'm not allowed to enter and hence I can't board the plane. They don't give any stated reason. Then about 20 minutes later, that Times article that you mentioned, Piers, comes out and it says it's because I criticize Israel in the wrong ways. Now, I don't know if the British government is going to put out a list of the acceptable ways to criticize Israel and the unacceptable ways to criticize Israel. That might be helpful because apparently we're going to need it. Over 60% of Americans are critical of Israel. Will we all be banned from the UK? Should everyone be careful about traveling to the United Kingdom because they might ruin your plans at the end if a different government is unsatisfied with you? Can they put out a list of things you're not allowed to say about Israel? And what's amazing is that you're allowed to say anything you want about the United Kingdom or about America or any other country.
Yeah.
And they said the only thing they could grasp at, because I've never said anything anti-Semitic because I don't believe that. In fact, I believe the opposite. Is that they said that I said that America is controlled by Israel, the Congress is, because they're the top donor
And they
in this
are.
election, in this last election cycle. Well, that is empirically true. That is a fact. So are facts anti-Semitic now? Are news people not allowed to deliver facts to people?
You know, if AIPAC wants to be the #1 donor to our politicians, then let them. But they don't get to pretend that they're not. You know, like we have lobbying here where you can donate money to politicians to persuade politicians and, you know, to lobby for your cause. But the whole point of that is so that they're not under the table bribes. It's so they put it on the books so that we can see who is influencing our politicians. That's why lobbying is legal. I mean, you know, that's why, you know, they created the term lobbying and created all the institutional structure for that so that we can see it plain as day. We don't have to, you know, guess. We don't have to, you know, figure it out. It's they have to expose that. They have to show. Same thing with like when the you know, foreign agents, that they have to register as a foreign agent. It's like, it's fine that you're a foreign agent. It's fine that you lobby for your people, but you can't. This is crooked. This is corrupt. It's totally against the law. You know, like for them to like make it illegal to be, you know, make it illegal for anybody to criticize the fact that they're donating the most out of, they're the biggest donor for Congress. You know, they want to lobby and influence our politics. Well, they have to, there are consequences for that. You have to make it known. You have to disclose your contributions to campaigns. And that's the least they could do, is be upfront and open about what they're doing.
Well, and if you say, hey, someone who is deeply anti-Semitic says the Jews are terrible and it's their fault and Hitler's good, etc., is in the same camp as a guy who says, no, this has nothing to do with Jewish people. In fact, 63% of Jewish Americans are opposed to the current Israeli government. And I make that distinction on the Young Turks almost every day.
You made it on the show regularly.
And if you put us in the same category, well, you know, you're destroying the idea of combating actual bigotry. It's almost like pulling a Jesse Smollett on a national level and saying we don't care. And it's also deeply ironic to say that we're going to ban you for criticizing Israel by saying that our governments are controlled by Israel.
It is deeply
the other point, the other point I read in the Times piece actually involved directly this show, because the Times said the decision to ban you was also based on some appearances on Uncensored, in which he dismissed evidence relating to grooming gangs in towns such as Rotherham, where official inquiries have identified an estimated 1,400 victims. Well, let's take a look at the clip we think they're talking about.
And then they go, it's the Muslims. I mean, it's almost comical. It's comical. And then we're talking about, grooming gangs going after kids or whatever. Oh, that comes out just as everyone's talking about the Epstein files and how a bunch of pro-Israeli figures raped American girls. Oh, it's the Muslims. It's the Muslims. So
right,
next time you hear it's the Muslims, I guarantee you.
You know, I was on X when that stuff dropped, and that's exactly what they were doing. They were trying to divert and misdirect towards Muslims. That's all. That was their game plan, and that's why I'm against this Muslim, this witch hunting with the Muslims. They're not the problem. They're not the ones causing trouble. You know, and I'm not. That's a red herring. Okay, you know, there may be problems with them. You know, with Muslims in America, like I'm not really all that happy about, you know, their prayer call or whatever playing, but it can be solved rather easily. It's a small potatoes problem. Like almost, it's really a state issue. Like in Dearborn, they can take care of it. That's their state. But this is like, whoa, you know, it's like we have a monkey on our back. We have like an entity, a clever, well-funded entity persuading or swaying our government, swaying the choices that the people in our government are making.
It's Israeli propaganda trying to divert you from something that's in the news now.
Can you address it?
Can you shut up and let me address it?
Can you address it without mentioning Israel? Or can you address grooming gangs?
No, because that's the whole reason we're having this conversation. Because your Israeli buddies wanted a distraction from the Epstein files. That's why they threw this garbage into the media. So now let me address it in an adult way.
Piers just explained to you that that's been going on for 30 years.
Will you shut up and let me address it? You're asking me a question and I'll answer it. You're asking me a question and I'll answer it. This is super easy. why don't you arrest everyone who's committed a crime? So if Pakistani grooming gangs exist, and I'm sure they do, then arrest them. Where's the question?
they didn't.
If there's a
They
gang
didn't
of white
arrest them,
people,
did they? Because of people like
shut
you.
up and let
They
me
didn't arrest
finish.
them.
If there's people, shut up and let me finish.
You're an idiot.
So
I hate that
if
punk.
there's a white gang of people
guy's
who
a
are
piece of
raping
shit,
people,
man.
arrest them. If there's a bunch of
He's a
super
J,
powerful
too, of
people
course.
who are raping American girls, arrest them.
Yeah.
Now, again,
I agree with Cheng. That's the whole thing. That's the whole problem is, yeah, they'll arrest the if there's white grooming gangs, they get arrested, and they have been arrested. But if they're Muslim grooming gangs, well, then they you know, that didn't happen. You know, that would be Islamophobic if that happened, and it's just straight up horse dung.
Disagree with you, agree with you, whatever, right? You know, the reality of the grooming gang scandal was that it went on over several decades.
Homeboy on the right, he definitely looks English. He's got like the English complexion with the English fair hair. You know, like I've noticed that the English, they don't have blonde hair, they have fair hair. That's like they're towheads when they're born. And then once they become an adult, they end up with brown hair. A lot of people in my family have that complexion. But I just bring that up because I remember hearing people refer to fair hair, English, and their fair complexion. And you know, I just
covered up. It involved predominantly Pakistani British Muslim men abusing young white English girls. That was what happened, and many of them.
How come nobody's commenting? That's weird.
Eventually got brought to justice and put in prison, but not before a gigantic cover-up went on, and that is indisputable and was a disgusting scandal which shamed my country. However, nothing that you've said about that. I mean, look, I would contest and I would argue with you that I've not seen clear evidence of any concerted Israeli campaign to hide the Epstein scandal thing around re-inflaming the Muslim grooming gang scandal, because to me they're two totally different things, and the grooming scandal continues to make news because of developments involving it. So I would say that you're wrong about that, Jake, but it doesn't really matter whether you're wrong about it or not. You are perfectly entitled to express that opinion and to express that suspicion, and people on the panel can argue with you, disagree with you, or agree with you. The idea that again, as the Times reports, was one of the reasons apparently the British government used to ban you from coming to my country, I just find completely ridiculous and shameful. You know, people say to me, what is going on with your country?
It's ridiculous because they swear up and down how liberal they are. Remember Starmer next to Trump? Oh, no, we love free speech and we do this and that and blah, blah, blah. They held up this BS facade for, you know, and every time Trump or Vance would say something, oh, no, we don't do that in our country, blah, but we're just like the great America, you know, great American First Amendment, blah. And it's just, you know, now the mask is off. It's like, now you can't pretend. You don't even get to do that. You don't get to pretend at all anymore. You know, it is what it is. You're the ones that are banning American citizens from coming to your country just to speak.
I'd say you're being overrun by Muslims. And I say, you know what? It's complete crap. We're not being overrun by Muslims. But when they say, but there's been a concerted attack on your free speech, I'm finding it increasingly difficult to argue about that. We have comedians who've been arrested at the airport at Heathrow coming in for jokes they made on X months before. We now have this. We have people doing Facebook posts being put in prison, grandmothers and so on. And it's got completely out of control. And we've forgotten what free speech actually means. It actually means tolerating opinions that we don't like, not opinions you do like. What now happens? Do you have any right of appeal, Czech?
So let's talk about the grooming gangs for a second, Piers, because it goes a little deeper than what you said. They told the Times that I denied the existence of grooming gangs. But
you didn't.
Even in the clip you just played,
you didn't deny
I said, I'm sure that they exist. So that's the exact opposite of what's true. So then that inexorably leads to the question of, why is the British government lying about me? That is very weird, right? Why lie about my stance on grooming gangs? And can I not say that I think it's meant as a distraction and a way to blame Muslims overall?
The whole point is, of course you can. Yeah, I mean, of course you're allowed to have that view. Like I say, I don't agree with it, but I don't agree with a lot of things you say. And I agree passionately with other things you say.
What's up, Jay Boss?
And I like having...
And I get what Piers is saying, but, you know, this isn't just... You know, they're playing it off as if it was, you know, he just got, you know, banned from X, you know, just got his account taken down or something. It's like, no, bro. He's been barred from entering like one of our vassal states. The UK is practically a state in the Union. I mean, they are. They're supposed to be our closest ally. And, you know, that's our mother country, Americans, you know, historical heritage Americans. And all of a sudden, American citizens are being banned. Like, they're supposed to be like above this, you know, that's they pretend that they are. This is like a big deal as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this is real. This is a real instance of tyranny, man. This is tyranny. We're being oppressed. This is tyranny. And don't think that this stuff wouldn't go for Europe as well. You know, what they'll do is anybody who criticizes Israel is going to be locked down to their country of origin. Whatever country they're a citizen in, that's where they're going to stay. You know, and they're going to, and they're not. It doesn't look like they're trying to throw people in jail for this, which that's probably on the horizon. But they're punishing people for criticizing Israel. They're restricting people for criticizing Israel. That's scary, man. That's wild. You know, it's a slippery slope, man, to you know, with tyranny, and it's quick, you know, because once the cat is out of the bag, they have no incentive to hold back or to, you know, to hide it anymore. This, I mean, this doesn't, to me, this doesn't bode well for the future.
On the show, because you always take part in debate. You're always prepared to debate with people like Shabos. I mean, I was really pleased, Shabos, to bring you back in, that you immediately went out there publicly and defended Cenk, the guy you were going to be arguing with passionately about these kind of issues, not realizing that he would be at the center of it. I mean, let me ask you, Shabos, in terms of this, every country has a right to let anybody in or not let them in, right? America bans a lot of people from going into the country. I happen to know two famous people in England who stopped going to America because they had warnings, like literal like cautions from the police for possessing tiny amounts of marijuana. And that meant every time they tried to go to America, they'd be hauled into a side room when they landed and grilled for 15 hours. And they got fed up with it and they eventually left. And yet Tommy Robinson, who has a list of prison convictions as long as your arm, appears to come and go as he pleases. So there are clearly a weird set of double standards applied about all sorts of stuff. But fundamentally, a country has a right to decide who they let in and who they don't. But you raised a good point, which is after the Tommy Robinson march, it was clear a number of American citizens had been banned from coming in for that because their views were deemed to be likely to, you know, like be against the interests of my country. And some of them I kind of agreed with, like Valentina Gomez. I think she's a appalling human being who just wants to whip up racial hatred. But others I didn't get. And so I think, again, it's like, well, who's deciding this?
Well, and it's what, you know, furthermore, it's like, yeah, they're barring people. Cenk is banned from coming to that country. They're also, have they not been trying to pull this stuff with X too? With anybody that, you know, that says stuff they disagree with, they try throwing them in jail or suing them. I mean, Elon Musk has been, I think he was going to court over this. Maybe not anymore, but he was. Like this, to me, this is just the beginning of the real tyranny. Either that or it's the end of it, one or the other, but it's not going to just continue trending, or, you know, it's not going to be status quo. It's going to continuously get worse. I mean, the fact that they were willing to do this over Cenk, I mean, that's a big deal. They just showed their hand. They just showed their cards. You know, like that's what they've done. They've unmasked themselves. So obviously that, you know, zero F's given. They're fixing to go hard in the paint on this. I mean, otherwise, you know, because he was in the country a year ago for the same thing, for the Oxford, for doing the speeches or debating. And he still had a visa. He still had the visa from the last time he went. And, you know, whatever and honestly, I think it's because, you know, TYT, the Young Turks, they're landing like body shots on the AIPAC and the Israel lobby. You know, they're doing real damage to those people, doing real damage to to Israel. I mean, all of a sudden, a lot of people are awake. That stuff that was in the news over the weekend about Congress moving to merge the IDF and the army. And I heard about this months ago. You know, they were talking about how the IDF was going to get basically, from when I first heard about this, they were saying, yeah, they're talking about merging the militaries so that the IDF gets their pensions are paid by our tax dollars. We're going to be paying for Jew pensions, murdering Jew pensions. I mean, it's outrageous to say the least. Absolutely outrageous. Unacceptable too. I mean, I wish people were more up in arms about this, because I would go to whatever. I would go to Washington for a protest if there was something. If like, and of course, you know, the liberals, these nut job Dems, they show up for every little thing that is meaningless and doesn't matter. But as soon as there's something that matters going on, they're, oh, can't be bothered. They're at work teaching or whatever. You know, too busy to be bothered, you know, to start a legit protest with their pussy hats.
Yes. Who is the arbiter? It seems to be just on the whim of the Home Secretary or the Home Office or the Homeland Security people, whatever, to just arbitrarily work out who they think isn't suitable. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with how you diagnose the problem, and that's why I was comfortable using the word authoritarian, because when you have the government arbitrarily deciding which views we're going to subjectively decide or allow into this country,
Right, and
that's
something
really dangerous.
that
And they're
also
kind of
that I wanted to say that Cenk said earlier today, and I thought was, you know, I kind of agreed with him. It's like, what are the rules here? What can we say and what can we not say about Israel? Because apparently there is a bar, but we don't even know what it is. They don't even say what Cenk has done. This is way authoritarian. This is real, honest to goodness, real life tyranny. You know, this, and they've been doing this for, you know, a couple years now, especially in the UK. But this is like, they just crossed the Rubicon. They're, you know, this is our empire, and we're being restricted. You know, our movement is being restricted in our own empire. I gotta use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Two ways of entering this. One is the legal lens. So to your point, you are right. Legally, countries can decide who's allowed into the country and who isn't. The United States does it. So Marco Rubio has made it very clear in the beginning of the second Trump administration that we're going to screen people based on their social media presences, if they're in support of terrorist organizations or not. So Tyler Oliveira, he was actually banned from the state of Israel for entering Israel. Whether he should have been banned or not, it's irrelevant, because legally Israel can make that decision. I think where I find Cenk's diagnosis of the problem accurate, but his antidote kind of silly, is because, to your point, Piers, Shabana Mahmoud, she is the Home Secretary. This is a Muslim woman who spoke out against Israel for almost all of her political career. The United Kingdom is not a fan of Israel. This is the same country that banned military export licenses, that suspended free trade negotiations, that sanctioned 2 Israeli ministers. They recognized the state of Palestine against Israel's recommendations without even delineating its borders. They continue to fund the United Nations Relief Works Agency, again, against the wishes of Israel. There are these hate marches every single week. As I said, I have family who live in London. Almost all of them have stopped wearing their yarmulkes. Jews get stabbed in broad daylight. Ambulances are being blown up on Golders Green Road. Jewish cemeteries are regularly defaced. Synagogues are regularly smashed. So this idea that, like, this is the Israel lobby, or this is the Jews exerting their control. A, the United Kingdom, or at least their government, hate Israel, and B, the Jews of the United Kingdom have very little political control in their country. So I think the much broader and better point to make is there's an erosion of free speech. We cannot allow a state centralized government to dictate which views are accepted. And yet, I disagree with Cenk on basically everything, and I would assume, judging by his friend Anna, he disagrees with me on basically everything. But as I said, the only way you can have a civil society, the only way you have a flourishing democracy, is when you go on platforms like the Piers Morgan Show and you talk it out and you air it out.
Right.
Because again, the only way to combat bad ideas is with better ideas. Not saying that certain viewpoints are not allowed. And that's what the Keir Starmer government has been doing. And it's shameful. Cenk should be in London right now.
Cenk, if you were the British Prime Minister, who would you not let in?
Yeah, I love freedom of speech. I'm an American, so I don't even agree with you on Valentina Gomez. So we covered her on the Young Turks, and she's a nutcase. But so what? She's here in America right now, and is everybody going crazy? Has she affected the whole country? No. So she has terrible ideas about how awful Muslims are, and she's terribly bigoted. But so what? So then it's super easy to defeat her in a debate.
Yes.
So look, this isn't about
that's kind of what I was getting at a few minutes ago. Like, that's free speech. That's our way of life. We're used to this way of life where no matter how much you hate hearing things, you have to roll with the punches. It's a part of life. We have to listen to stuff we don't want to hear. And if you want to stop it, or if you want to refute it, you have to debate it, and you have to marshal the better argument here. That's our way of life, and we all kind of, we're comforted by that fact. By, yes, we can criticize whoever we want, no matter. at least, no matter what else happens, at least we have this minimum of, we can criticize stuff. Maybe we, a lot of it, we don't have a choice, our politicians do stuff. We don't get to decide on it, or maybe we get to decide in an election, but we don't get direct control over this stuff, but at least we get to criticize it. Like, that's why people fought in World War II. And it's just like, we've all just had a serious blow dealt to something we're all extremely proud of in the West, and especially in America with the First Amendment. And then this stuff happens. It's like, man, everything we love, like I said last night, it's like either you have to watch, you get, your choices are you watch everything you hold dear and love burn to the ground, or, you endure the onslaught, the slings and arrows of being called an anti-Semite. It's I think that's kind of our choices. Like, we're getting put up against the wall. We either watch everything we love burn and disappear, just disintegrate and right before our eyes, or we speak out, in outrage, and we'll be smeared as anti-Semites. But at some point, I feel like the dam's got to give. At some point, people are just gonna have to say, well, if that's the choice, then I choose, the latter. I choose to be called whatever. I'm not going to watch you tear my civilization down brick by brick. Go pound sand, piss up a rope, you sons of, like, everything that the West stands for. Well, if we don't have that, if we don't have freedom of speech, well, then what's the point of any of it? What's the point of any of it? We're under an authoritarian regime. Why do we have to be under a liberal authoritarian regime that forces us to be replaced by coloreds? If we already have an authoritarian regime, well, then what's the point? We may as well just elect a strong man. Everybody's already been trending towards that, as it were, anyway. And they're just like trying to speed it up. Like, okay, you guys go ahead and put your strong man in, because we're going to leave you with no choice. You're going to, we're just going to keep bending you over an oil barrel over and over, taking you up through there. I mean, what other choice are we left? It's like, what? I would rather have a right-wing authoritarian government than this BS feminist liberal government that prioritizes coloreds, foreigners, and women over men, and white men especially. If we're going to be tyrannized, well, then how about maybe we should just throw in a guy who's not going to tyrannize us, who's going to tyrannize the other people, the Israelites. They need to be tyrannized. We're tired of being tyrannized by these fucking Jays, man. How about they get some tyranny? I mean, and at some point, hey, we can make it really uncomfortable for those people to exist in our civilization, in our country. It's like, you can bribe our countrymen, you can bribe our politicians all you want, but piss us off and see how uncomfortable things get for you. And I know Israel would love that, but it's like, at some point, the rubber meets the road. I don't really give a damn if that benefits Israel, because as far as I'm concerned, yeah, we deal with the people we got here, and then once we get control of our stuff back, then we go over there with a paddle in hand and work and just take them, whap that ass if we have to. Like, these people, and we would do well, or we would be wise to just totally destroy them, cast them to the wind. Cast them to the wind, because, bro, this is only going to continue. They're never going to stop doing this. They're never going to stop doing this, and they're never going to stop taking out of our pockets and tyrannizing. I mean, obviously, Israel, they have a penchant for this stuff. This is their shtick here. Let's just do away with them. Get rid of this country. Scatter it to, like I said, scatter it to the wind, just, you know, tear the systems and the institutions apart, destroy them, and, you know, basically like kick it over like a sandcastle and just stomp all over it so they can't come back. Because, you know, I don't see this ever not stopping until they aren't a country. I mean, I honestly, I don't think they're going to be around all that much longer, but I mean, I would prefer if we didn't wait for them to just disintegrate on their own. It's like, now let's go over there and disintegrate them ourselves. But, you know, they're just going to make life harder for their own people. I mean, what else are we to do? You make our lives hard. People need an, like, if your enemy is like on the internet or something, it's frustrating. Like, people take that kind of anger out on stuff in their life, people in their life. And if they have Jays in their life, chances are they're going to take that frustration out on those people, innocent or not. Innocent or not. I mean, Israel's doing those people a terrible disservice. Terrible. They didn't have to be, it didn't have to be this way. They could have just been a country and, you know, worked, you know, was a good neighbor, traded fairly with everybody, and just went about their business. Hey, it would have been copacetic. Everything would have been good. You know what? People would, I would probably go to I would have gone to Israel for vacation. Why wouldn't I? You know, if they were just a regular country and they were, you know, most of them speak English and it's, you know, it's not as foreign as other countries in the Middle East. And it's just, they could be doing great if they were neutral, if they weren't so corrupt and evil. But it's like, I think that's kind of a part of that's like their ideology. That's why I say it's this ideology that we've been tricked into believing is a religion, because they can't help themselves but to take advantage of everybody else, to hurt everybody else, to injure everybody else. They can't help themselves. Every time people leave them alone, they immediately start congregating, coagulating, and, you know, huddling together, whispering, getting these underhanded, corrupt game plans together to steal from people, to loan shark people, to influence people, I mean, it's so subversive, man. We just need to be done with this parasite once and for all.
Jews, Muslims, etc. Everyone in different religions have completely different points of view. To categorize people as thinking a certain way because they're Jewish, for example, or as Valentina does because they're Muslim, is by definition absurd. Ben Cohen from Ben & Jerry's is one of the greatest fighters for peace movement in America. He's, you know, adamantly against what the government of Israel is doing. So this generalizations are absurd, but let us deal with it. You know, people that are in media and on shows like this and where we discuss things and debate things. But right now, the British government has stepped in and said that some views are not allowed. Well, yeah. Okay, then you have to elucidate what those views are.
I agree with that.
You know,
yeah.
are you really banning? Are you really banning the great majority of the world?
Right, and they don't. You're banning people, and they don't even know what the rules are. Like that. What? This is crazy, man. This is so crazy. They've just thrown all of our traditions and all of our points of pride, and they've just been cast out the window, cast to the wind. I mean, it's incredible, man. It's incredible. You know, 5 years ago, nobody would have believed that this was even in the realm of possibility, ever. It's crazy.
It's insane.
Well, the problem, Shabos, I will let you respond, Shabos, but the problem is, if you don't say precisely why you're banning high-profile people, then obviously the theories will run riot, right? I mean, Cenk doesn't really know. He knows what he's read in the Times. You seem to be incredibly well informed. Well, who informed the Times? You know, the Times shares the building that I do with this studio, so maybe I'll go up and ask them. But they'll probably won't tell me. But you know, the point being, somebody clearly briefed the Times, right? From, I presume, from the Home Office or the government. But what exactly is it that Cenk has said or espoused, which means they had to ban him on public order grounds? I don't understand it.
That's entirely my point. So I want to be clear. It's very possible that Cenk was not allowed into the United Kingdom because of his views on Israel. That's totally possible. But I think the problem I had with you, Cenk, and with your nephew Hassan Piker is you immediately went to the conspiratorial. It's because of Israel. It's because of the Jewish lobby, or however you phrased it.
No,
we don't
they
actually know
reported
that.
it.
It could be. Hang on. It could be because I don't know. You made weird comments about bestiality 10 years ago. It could be because you made weird comments about grooming gangs. I don't know, but you don't know either. And that's kind of my point. We don't know. And I would agree with you. The United Kingdom should actually say, here's what we found demonstrably offensive or whatever happens to be, because then we could actually say, okay, so at least we know.
Well, you know, it's not Cenk's fault there, dickface. It's not Cenk's fault. If the UK wanted to make, if they wanted to avoid the appearance of Israel causing trouble, they could have told us what he was being banned for, but they didn't. They left it up to us to fill in the blank. That's their fault. That's Israel's fault. That's not Cenk's fault. What else are we supposed to believe? What other possible reason could there be for this? You know, it's like, dude, this is a spurious garbage argument. Like, shut your mouth, boy. Shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut your hole. Because it's BS, man. It's BS. Don't piss down my back and try to tell me it's raining.
Window of accepted political discourse and fight against that accepted political discourse. But as I said, I think a much stronger argument is the erosion of free speech, and not what you immediately did, which is just blame the Israel lobby, which, as I already demonstrated, doesn't make any sense because the Home Secretary, Mahmoud Saban, hates Israel.
No, but brother, I'm not the one saying it. They apparently told the Times, and they listed three things. They listed. No, I do know that it's in the article. It's like, so I mean, I know you could say that the Times is lying and they made it up.
Yes, the UK government did not explicitly comment on why you were banned. They don't say that.
No, but again, Shambles, the Times report. The Times, look, the Times is a very authoritative newspaper. It's like, you know, like the New York Times for the UK, and it published what appeared to be
if the London Times
very quickly after the news broke.
Within like 30 minutes of him being at the airport, they broke this story. Okay, the London Times breaks that story, not the New York Times, the London Times, and you're telling me that they weren't basically telegraphing, hey, Cenk, you messed up. You talked about Israel. You're not coming over here. That seems pretty damned obvious to me. And the Times says it, like, bro, that's basically the mouthpiece, the international mouthpiece of Britain. There is no other publication higher than that, unless you get it like straight from Keir Starmer's mouth. This is a spurious argument.
Detailing the grounds that the UK government had banned Cenk. And it was largely to do with Israel and also potentially to do with what he said about grooming gangs on my show. But given that I've just illustrated that he said the opposite to what was reported in the Times, i.e. he didn't deny that there had been this abuse by the grooming gangs, he was making a wider point about whether it was now being used by the Israeli lobby in some way to distract attention from the Epstein scandal. And that's a different point. It's not about denying whether the abuse ever happened. He didn't. He said the opposite. He said he accepts it probably happened, right? So he wasn't obviously as aware of the case as we are, but I didn't hear him trying to deny it happened. He was making a bigger point about it being used as a distracting tool, which, by the way, I'm sure by some people it is being used that way, as all these things are. But wait, for you, Shabazz, I mean, look, the First Amendment is one of the most powerful defenses of free speech in the world.
I see.
Yeah.
Homeboy's a J. That's what it is.
Okay, hold on. Can I just address the three reasons that the Times put out there, and we missed one, okay? So one was, I said that Israel gives, the Israeli lobby gave more than any other lobby in the last election cycle to Congress. That is an empirically correct statement. So, and by the way, the Times said it was incorrect, so the Times is incorrect, the British government is incorrect, and anybody can verify that. So then the second one was the grooming gangs, where they said I said that they don't exist, and you just showed tape of me saying they exist. So then the British government is lying about that if the Times is correct. And then the third reason that, I don't know if it was connected to the British government or the Times just threw it in there as a character assassination, was about some blogs that I wrote where I was joking about myself, which they didn't clarify at all. And so then you make, and those are 30 years old. So then you go, okay, wait, is this just a character assassination? Because I've been in the UK so many times since those 30 years
for those
have
who
passed.
didn't see that, what were the jokes?
Yeah, so I'm going to clarify that and the one that Shambos alluded to. So in a blog I wrote about 28 years ago, I was kidding around about how I couldn't get girls in South Beach and how the genes of poor, women must be poorly designed if I can't get women in South Beach. It was a joke about myself.
Right.
And so, by the way, the New York Times, Times of London, et cetera, have never clarified that it's a joke, and it's an abomination that they mislead people like that. And then Shambos just talked about bestiality. Now, that was another joke from a video where they edit it so they cut out me saying the horse wouldn't say nay, and everybody in the studio laughs. And so since they cut that out, they have been smearing me with that for literally a decade straight. But again, I didn't get banned from coming into the UK all of those years. These are all attempts at character assassination ex post facto. So now that makes it even worse, because why did the British government lie about me? What is it about? And they did say it was over criticism of Israel. So if they don't clarify, they're just sending out an advertisement to the world. Don't come to the United Kingdom. We will ban you. We won't even tell you why we ban you, other than the fact that generically we don't like your opinions of Israel. And Shabo's going to say that it's absurd, except that's literally the only thing that they have said to the newspapers as to why I was banned. So if it's absurd, take it up with the British government, not me.
But that's my point, because that's not true. The British government has not publicly commented.
America First is back tonight. That's maybe he's getting ready
on it. All they had said is that you and your nephew are not good for the public service in the United Kingdom. Is it because of your views on Israel? Probably.
Well, no, I think it's more than that, Shadow. Because look,
but hang on.
Yeah, but the Times hasn't reported this out of nowhere. They reported it because they've been briefed by the Home Office. This is the reason.
Like before Cenk could even get the word out, they had already broken this news. Okay, so it wasn't that a response to Cenk; it was preemptive. They put this out. They wanted this to hit as Cenk was telegraphing.
Yes or no, has the British government taken a public or official statement on Cenk Uyghur? The answer is no. We can speculate as to what it is.
And this is what the Israelis do so well and the Zionists do so well. They hide behind technicalities. Did the British government, did they actually say that? Did they come out, technically, did they come out and say what you did? No. Well, then, they didn't say. It could be anything, because they know if they can obfuscate and muddy the waters when everybody's putting their eyeballs on the story, which is, the first day that it happens, if they can keep the answer for why it happened to be, not definitive, he's muddying the water, saying we don't know this for sure. People will lose interest. They won't ever check and see. So, and that's the thing. If Cenk and Pierce can definitively say, hey, this, or at least make a good enough argument, hey, the Times speaks for the British government. Yes, the British government, they have told us why it is. People will mark that down in their head. Oh, wow. So the British government, they're just banning people, this and that. But if this guy wins out, oh, well, technically they didn't say it. They didn't do blah, blah, blah. See what I mean, though? And then people, they walk away not realizing how serious this is. That's what I'm saying. That's when I say that Israel is clever, that these Zionists are clever, that's what I mean. They know how to play defense, man. It's almost like a UFC fight or something where we just cannot land a blow on them without them, them getting their, blocking it, and deflecting some of the, what I mean? You might land a punch, but they're going to take some heat off of it with their hands, with a deflection. And that's how I feel. Like you can never land one clean on their chin. It's like almost never. It's extremely frustrating. But I mean, I guess it's extremely frustrating. Although today they did get hit, I guess, with that leak. Although like I said before, I don't believe it either. Like Crystal Ball said, I don't believe it. They every time, everybody starts whispering, wow, Bibi Netanyahu controls our government. Ooh, wow, Bibi Netanyahu control. Did you hear that? Every time that's going on, somehow something gets leaked or Trump comes out and screams, pretending he's mad at Trump or Netanyahu. It's total Hasbra, man, to make us think that Trump actually gives a damn about us. They're literally just hedging their bets. Oh, Trump, he's going to do what we ask him to do. But man, we have to make it seem like, he didn't do it. So, like he's not just doing it so easily. They make it seem like, oh, Trump is struggling to, to decide, oh, what are we going to do? Or, oh, we can't do that. Like you've made the world hate you. And it's garbage. That's them doing damage control because it doesn't look good that we're in Iran and acting against our own best interest. It does not look good. And then you have people like Mark Levin who look like the straight up, like, the head of the FBI or some high up, like maybe even the head of the State Department. You know, the way that all his different announcements on X, it just, bro, it's not good, man. Mark Levin, everything this guy says, you know, it's like what he says goes. What, you know, whatever his comments are, they're the prevailing wind of the government. And then Trump himself says, oh, you know, watch Mark Levin's show tonight at 8 p.m. on Saturday night. Or, you know, Mark Levin is MAGA, and you're only MAGA if you agree with Mark Levin. What, like, it's incredible, man. Like, all this stuff, all everything that I'm seeing, all these different you know, different events, different things happening around, revolving around Israel first, and Israel and this war, bro, it's like, it's not looking good, man. These things, all these different things happening all at once, it's like, you know, we're in like a like, it's not good, man. You know, they like all these different things converging at the same time, and they're all evidence of the stranglehold, the parasite that is Israel. You know, we have this tapeworm, and all these things happening at the same time. Whatever Mark Levin says goes. You know, we're bombing Iran, acting directly in opposition of what's in the best interest of America. Bibi Netanyahu, we do something that he doesn't like, make peace. Well, he either calls Trump and gets Trump to back out of it, or he attacks something and destroys the peace that way. But either way, like, it's like we're not an American isn't at the tiller. You know, an Israeli is steering our ship.
Would probably agree it has to do with Israel. But again, you're missing the much broader point that there has been erosion of free speech in the United Kingdom. You have staunchly pro-Israel activists, including pro-Israel Jews, who are routinely banned from the United Kingdom. You have the United Kingdom government that, as policy, wants to recognize, in fact, has recognized a state of Palestine against all of Israel's objections, have continued to fund the United Nations Relief Works Agency, again, against all the objections of the state of Israel. They have sanctioned Israeli ministers. They have weekly hate marches. They have terrorist attacks against Jews.
You know, and when I hear all of this, ooh, they ban people from Israel too. Ooh, they threaten to recognize Palestine. You know, it just sounds like the same thing that phone call sounds like. It sounds like Hasbro. Like, I mean, bro, these Israelites, bro, these people are clever. These people are clever. Don't think they're stupid. And everything they do is calculated. You know, like, I don't believe that for a second, honestly. Like, that's the kind of stuff that they do. And it goes the same thing with their Arab population. When I hear their propaganda, certain things stand out to me. You guys hear the thing where, like, Ben Shapiro would always say, oh, well, I'll have you know, 20% of Israel's population is Arab and Christian and non-Jewish. Bro, that's a token slave class. You know, like, that's the conclusion I have reached. That is nothing more than a token. They keep those people around so that they can cover up, so that they can, you know, obfuscate and put up this facade, that, like, this multicultural facade. That's what those people are there for. And they treat them like garbage. They spit on them. You know, they're constantly attacked by the settlers and stuff. But all those people, they're there so that they have plausible deniability. That's what that is. When England does these BS little token gestures, it's plausible deniability. That's all it is, man.
Almost on the weekly at this point. So to say it's part of the Israel lobby, I'm saying is demonstrably not true. And yes, Cenk and I, we should be in the United Kingdom going at each other's throats on Lebanon and Iran and tariffs and Epstein or whatever. But so I agree, he should be there. It was wrong for the United Kingdom to do this. But when you simply focus on the, you know, everything is run by Israel, it's all a conspiracy, we don't know that. It might be, but again, the British government doesn't actually have an official statement on this matter. Should they? Probably, but you're ignoring the fact that so many other people have also been banned from coming into the United Kingdom, which I think is the real story, not Cenk Uygur and
but
his
they
nephew.
haven't been. Yeah, okay, but they haven't been banned. Yeah, but people haven't been banned because they're supportive of Israel. That's not been the reason they've been banned. It's normally to do with other things they've done.
There is no reason. You're proving my point. There is no officially stated reason because it's arbitrary, it's subjective, and it's stupid. But to say it's one thing over the other, in fact, Cenk, you were tweeting before the Times article even came out. So all I'm saying is none of us actually know. We can probably suspect why it is, and I would agree with you. But ultimately, the bigger problem here is being completely ignored. That you have a Labour government led by Keir Starmer that has cracked down on free speech, that is arresting its own citizens for Facebook posts. I think the Online Safety Act, the Communications Act of 2003 were terrible pieces of legislation. And again, the United Kingdom is something that brought free speech to the world. The concepts brought by John Locke and Edmund Burke and the Magna Carta are needed now more than ever. And that's why, again, as someone with British ancestry who has family living in England, that's why I'm so appalled at the state of the United Kingdom today.
But if you have someone like Valentina Gomez, Cheng, who you've defended, I was surprised to hear you say that, because she's tried to be a politician, she's run for office, she has advocated for all Muslims to be thrown out of the UK, for example, right? And she wants to come to the UK and take part in a march led by Tommy Robinson, and we know that is her position. And we have, 5 million Muslims in the UK, and I would say her presence, given her position of throwing every Muslim out of Britain because they're Muslims and the disgusting things she then says about Muslims, why should we let her in? I mean, I would say, obviously, if you advocate violence, I think we would all agree on that. But I'm surprised that you would think that that may not be a criteria to stop someone coming in, given her obvious potential, by saying that, to whip up genuine hatred against all Muslims.
Look,
Fierce, man. Who cares if they whip up anything? You're supposed to care about freedom of speech, man. Like, what the hell?
I would answer, so what? I mean, there's tons of people who whip up hatred against Muslims. I would argue that almost all of American mainstream media whips up hatred against Muslims. They call us terrorists, and when Israel does 100 times worse, they say that they're a moral army and a democracy. They've kept 5.5 million Palestinians as their prisoners for 58 years in a brutal dictatorship they run in the occupied territories. They're not a democracy at all. So, okay, the mainstream media has been painting Muslims as the bad guys, and how dare they seek their freedom from the Israelis? They're disgusting terrorists. So I would say the New York Times and CNN and ABC and all those outlets have been horribly bigoted against Muslims, but I wouldn't want to ban them. Look, I believe in freedom of speech. I'm not at all threatened by violence.
I agree with Shank. We're forged by fire, in the furnace. And we like the debate. That's the whole point of America. That's probably why Shank lives in America. That's probably why he came here. And then to come to find out, in his lifetime, we're stripped of freedom of speech. Like, I kind of feel bad for the people that immigrated here. They came right when the damn house fell in, all the roof fell in.
Valentina Gomez's ideas. Her ideas are comical, bigoted, and easy to defeat. So the minute you ban something, you say, well, that idea is hard to defeat. I'm really worried about that idea.
Yes.
So I don't want it to be in the public sphere. No, I believe in putting it all out there and get the battle of ideas going, and it's super easy for people who are right to win. And by the way,
how many times have you been to the UK in your life?
I think I've probably been there about 3 times, twice to give speeches at Oxford, and then at least one other time.
Right. What is the point of these Oxford speeches? I mean, the whole point of them is to show, yes, we debate things here in the UK like they always have. And then the supreme irony that somebody is barred from speaking at Oxford. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. It's incredible. Incredible.
I never had any problem.
3-4 times. No, that's why I went to the airport, and I thought initially that it was a bureaucratic snafu, because I was like, well, this can't be true. That doesn't make any sense. And I already had an existing visa. And so, Shabbos keeps saying that you can't put it on Israel, but I'm not the one who did. The Times did.
Yeah.
The Times says the British government told them it's because I criticize Israel. So either the Times is lying or the British government is doing something quite, terrible.
Well, Shabbos, let me ask you, Shabbos,
terrible for Britain.
Shabbos, in April, the UK government banned Kanye on the grounds that his presence would not be conducive to public good. The same argument used against Cheng over his history of anti-Semitic comments, which are pretty indisputable. He's released a song called Heil Hitler. He sold T-shirts with swastikas on. He talked about DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, and then apologised for them in a lengthy mea culpa in the Wall Street Journal. So pretty, indisputable that he said all these things and did all these things. Was it right the UK government banned Kanye?
Well, let me just add quickly that my understanding is the reason why Kanye West said DEFCON 3 is because he didn't know which one was worse, DEFCON 1 or 5, so he figured he would just compromise in the middle because he's an idiot.
Sure that's true.
It probably is. But in general, I mean, yes and no. Again, every country can decide who's let in. If they don't think that he's conducive to the public good, then they probably shouldn't let him in. The problem I have with the United Kingdom, and this is where Cenk and I are in agreement, is it's entirely subjective. They don't actually tell you what the rules are. But look, I'll use Mahmoud Khalil as a pretty good example. This is someone who came into the United States, he lied on his visa application, and he will be deported. I mean, he appealed to the Supreme Court. I can guarantee you, even if the Supreme Court hears his arguments, which I highly doubt, he will be deported. deported. Mostly it's because he lied on his visa application. But it's also true that this is not an American citizen. He's a foreign national. He comes from Algeria and Syria. He called for the eradication of Western civilization. So, what exactly is the net positive of having someone like Mahmoud in the United States? So I think in general, a country can dictate what are the types of peoples we want, what are the types of values and ideologies we want. The problem again with the United Kingdom is they don't actually tell you any of those things. And
But Shabbos, if the United Kingdom has decided that Cenk's regular, very virulent attacks on the Israeli government for their actions, and the nation of Israel, because they represent the nation of Israel, obviously, have you ever heard anything that Cenk has said which you believe was anti-Semitic?
Well, no offense to Cenk, I try not to listen to him too much. But in general, whether he makes anti-Semitic comments or not, to me, it's not really the point.
No, but my question is whether you believe he's anti-Semitic.
I think it's irrelevant. I care.
Well, it is relevant because they may well have used that as a reason for not allowing him in, so it's relevant.
Outside of Harvard University and Candace Owens, I'm pretty reluctant to call people or institutions anti-Semitic. What I will say is that Cenk's policies, the ideologies he advocates for, are wildly disastrous to the 10 million Muslims, Christians, Druze, and Jews who call Israel home. I think that's way more important of a discussion rather than simply calling people anti-Semitism. And this might actually surprise both of you, but this is where I'm sort of outside of the Jewish mainstream, at least in the United States, because A, they don't like the fact that I go on your show. B, they don't like the fact that I tweeted what I did last night. And C, I think we are way too comfortable just calling anything we don't like anti-Semitism.
Oh, yeah,
I think we've totally cheapened
crap.
the meaning of that word, because there are actual anti-Semites in the United States. There are actual anti-Semites on social media. And we both agree that the criticism of Israel, certainly the Israeli government, in fact, I have a lot of criticisms on the guest you just had before us, that is totally legitimate, and that's totally fair game. And actually, I've been Jewish since the day I took my first breath. I don't know.
I do believe the guest he had on before was Megyn Kelly. Oh, somehow she's an anti-Semite. Come on, man.
Jew who actually pretends otherwise, that it would be anti-Semitic, but we are way too comfortable just saying opinions we don't like are inherently anti-Semitic. And it was actually weird because just a few hours ago I got a notification that Candace Owens actually liked my tweet defending you, Cenk. So I don't know if I want to be in the Candace Owens camp, but ultimately I think it was Voltaire who said, I detest your opinion, but will fight like hell to ensure that you have the right to say it.
I think he said,
so
I'll fight to the death. Yeah, I'll fight to the death to defend your right to have it.
So we should be doing this debate, talking about the substantive issues, Israel, Gaza, America in London, and I look forward to it. And if there's anything I can do to amplify the fact that the United Kingdom is taking American citizens and forbidding them from entering the country, then Cenk, I mean this genuinely. I know you probably don't like me, and I know Anna doesn't like me, but I mean this genuinely. Please let me know what I can do to help, because this is not just a United Kingdom problem. It's not just an Israel-Gaza problem. It is a problem affecting Western civilization.
Well, that's the whole point of Auto Hoax. That's the whole point of it all, is that the only thing that we hear about when it comes to Jews is how they've been victimized. Nobody ever speaks about who they were victimizing for that stuff to happen. We're always just told that it's low IQ anti-Semites, and I was talking about this in the stream last night. That's how they word everything. It's all they call anybody in history that had a problem with Jews, they are low IQ anti-Semites. They were just blame, and you know how they always blame it. Oh, like they were having tough, their economy was tough, or they were having their own problems with their government or with their situation, and because the Jays were a scapegoat because they couldn't figure out how to solve their real problems. They just use them as a scapegoat, blame everything on them. I don't believe that anymore. I do not believe that anymore. You're telling me that 109 countries, hundreds of times, that they did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I mean, I don't believe that. It's like saying that gypsies never did anything wrong. Gypsies aren't known for stealing from people. Gypsies aren't known for, you know what I mean? Like that, it's absurd. These people, there's a reason, and they write it off as anti-Semitism. That way, if anybody in the present day speaks up against Israel, they can write them off as bigoted, low IQ anti-Semites. Because, after all, the only people that have a problem with Jays are bigoted, low IQ anti-Semites, right? Those are the only people historically. They were all just like the Nazis. Even though, really, I'm pretty sure that they hide, how the Nazis actually felt about everything. Like, I'm pretty sure they're hiding, because I don't believe that they didn't say what they were bothered about, when it came to the Jays. I don't believe that. I don't buy it anymore. This is all a carefully curated propaganda and brainwashing scheme. I think from the jump, man, from the jump, from World War II on, like, you know what? I don't even put it. I don't even put it past them for World War II to have been trumped up. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't put it past these people. I mean, who's to say that, that they didn't just tack on the J thing after they won already? You know what I mean? Like, and just kind of invent that as a figment, a fairy tale. And it's because they lie to us about everything. Everything is obfuscated. Everything is everything is to sway us, and it's a lot of it is planted information. It certainly is, and it all fits this super convenient narrative for Israel. And, there's too much history of these people screwing everybody else. There's too much history of their evil, underhanded machinations. And I think we would do well to take this seriously. Do well to take these problems and we can't just write this country off and this group of people off. They've shown that they're extremely skilled and they have real prowess when it comes to covert and clandestine operations. The pagers. I mean, all of it has the same through line: underhanded, lacking in honor. It's all none of their tactics are honorable. None of them. They kill women and children. They won't fight in their own wars unless it's against women and children. Then they'll fight. Then they'll kill. But they get us to do all their real fighting. Everything is underhanded. Everything is they get what they want, but at the least cost to them. They get what they want, but they don't have to pay for it. They get everybody else to pay for it. And the stuff they do pay for, it's with our money or with money they cheated us out of. You know what I mean? Like, anytime they do pay for something, they've cheated us out of the money to pay us with our own money. They start a war and they somehow fix it so that we're the ones that are taking on the casualties. And the only time that they always say, oh, we fight all our own wars. It's like, no, you fight all your own police actions. You fight all of your own massacres, your own slaughters. That's what you fight. Yet when you have a captive population in a plaza and you just lay into them with automatic weapons and artillery. Like, I seen earlier today something they were talking about on X, or it was a post I saw on X, and I think it was Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm going to see if I can find it. But basically he was just trying to justify them laying waste to not just Gaza, but like Beirut and Lebanon. And he was saying, if they don't stop, then we will strike terror targets in Beirut. Bro, terror targets? My ass. You are attacking women and children, you coward. There are no terror targets in Beirut. I don't believe that shit. I don't believe it for a second, man. And they're using that as like a threat too. Like, if you keep messing around, we'll attack your men, your fighting age men that are launching missiles at us. What kind of a threat is that? Well, no crap, you're going to do that. No, that's them. Like, that's a veiled threat that, yeah, we're going to kill women and children if you don't back off. We're going to terrorize you if you don't back off. Scumbags, man. Scumbags. I can't stand these. Oh, and this one too. Lord, please forgive us for all the things we did that did not support Israel. The Israeli government brought Christians from around the world to the Knesset to cry out and beg God to forgive their nations for not supporting Israel enough. Bro, what the hell, man?
In Germany, in your name, amen.
Dear Father in heaven, I am crying out to you on behalf of Germany and on behalf of Europe. And I'm crying to you, have mercy upon.
Bro, they won't. You know, why don't they just appeal to us like everybody else? Stop murdering people and make your case. No, they refuse to make a straight up case to us. No, they do it underhandedly. They get a bunch of Christian ministers from the countries that they're targeting and bring them to their country and get them to guilt their own people and stuff. Like, this is how they're trying to guilt us and to persuade us and to, you know, continue doing what they're doing, you know, propagandizing us. They don't want to just actually be a friend to us and do and help us and do good things for us. No, they don't want to do that. They want their cake and to eat it too. They want to do evil shit to us, and they also want us to like them. Bro, pick a lane. You can't get both of those. But that's their MO, man. We insist on doing evil shit that injures you, as well as we insist that you back us and advocate for us. It's incredible, man. It's so incredible. I kind of want to show it to you guys just because it was. I didn't like it. Yeah, maybe I'm probably not gonna. Maybe I'll find it while this is.
Especially young people don't know how to have conversations or debates anymore. They just silo themselves in these dumb echo chambers, and anything they don't like is racist or anti-Semitic or homophobic or Islamophobic. It's stupid.
I completely agree, and I absolutely applaud what you just said. I do. I think it's intellectually honest, and I think the key thing that I judge people now. Well, are you intellectually honest? Are you prepared to be critical of your own side at all? If you're not, you're intellectually dishonest. You're just part of a tribe where honesty doesn't matter. I mean, Cenk, what's your reaction to what Shabbos said?
So look, I appreciate him standing up for freedom of speech, and I appreciate him not doing the thing that unfortunately a lot of supporters of Israel do. The minute you criticize Israel, they say, "Oh, I've got 28 different tropes. Oh, that's it. You cross one of the tropes tripwires, so that's it. You're an anti-Semite. I've canceled you, etc." I do disagree with him on a number of things, though. Mahmoud Halil.
In response to the repeated and ongoing violations of the ceasefire in Lebanon by the terrorist organization Hezbollah and the attacks against our cities and citizens, I have instructed the IDF, together with Defense Minister Israel Katz, to strike terrorist targets in the Dahia district of Beirut. Bro, let me translate that for you. In response to the repeated and ongoing violations of the ceasefire in Lebanon, by the civilians protecting their women and children and their homes and their way of life, and the attacks against our cities and citizens, I have instructed the IDF, blah, 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 to attack civilian targets in Beirut. That's what that is, man. All this garbage about, oh, the terrorist organization Hezbollah, I don't believe that there even is. I honestly, I don't even believe that there is such a thing as Hezbollah. I think these are just honest to goodness civilians trying to protect their homes and their women and children and their people. And this is simply propaganda to give the Israelis cover for, you know, genocide and for atrocities, true atrocities. You know, and like, we don't need this on our conscience. Seriously, we already do enough stupid and bad stuff. We've already done enough of that stuff as it is. Why are we allowing these people to hang? Why are we allowing them to hang this albatross to hang around our neck? It's just hurting us.
isn't guilty of any of the things that he said. And oh, look at that, yet another critic of Israel banned by yet another Western government. I'm sure it's all a coincidence. Come on, nobody believes it's a coincidence. You can say that all day long. We
He
all
lied on
know
his visa
that,
application.
especially, look, I don't know much about the British, hold on, Shabbos. I don't know much about the British government except what they've done to me. But the U.S. government is overwhelming. You can't support boycott, divestment, and sanction of Israel in over 30 states in America because they've passed absurd laws, some of which they sign in Israel, not even in America. It's just preposterous, saying you're not allowed to disagree with the government, a foreign government. We've given them over $300 billion. They've given them 94% of Congress. They're the #1 donor to Biden and Trump. It goes on and on. They have overwhelming control in this country. It isn't Jewish people, because remember, 63% of Jewish Americans don't even agree with this current Israeli government. And some of the best fighters for peace are Jewish. But does Israel and the Israeli lobby have enormous control? Of course they do. And look, guys, it's so overwhelming, because Shabbos last week in a debate with Anna Kasparian, my co-host on the Young Turks, she said proverbially, oh my God, shoot me in the head. And Shabbos said gladly. Now, I assume he was, no, but that's on tape. Hold on.
At least let him get his.
I mean, let's assume that Shabbos was kidding, and et cetera. He can speak for himself in a second. But if I had said that about Shabbos or anyone else, the British government would pounce, and the American government would pounce, and media would pounce, and go, look at that, he's calling for the murder of someone else. When Shabbos says it, nobody even noticed, because there's such a wildly different standard for people who support Israel and people who oppose Israel. And if you're denying that, you can.
Right. And, you know, we all know that being conservatives, or at least some of us being more conservative minded, the whole conservatives pounce narrative is just, golly, I couldn't hate that anymore. The right wing pounces, conservatives pounce. Yeah, but, you know, whenever there's a story against a Democrat, it's the liberal mainstream media, their piece is, conservatives pounce. And then whenever it's a conservative that's in trouble, it's whatever he did or whatever they did. That's the story. But when a Democrat does it, the story is how the right wing pounces, the conservatives pounce. It's more of this control over our country, and, you know, manipulating the right and the left into hating each other, and they have convinced the left so deeply that the right is so fascist and so evil and this and that, they're murderers, that they won't even talk to the right. And then you have people like AOC that won't even accept Marjorie Taylor Greene's help. They won't even accept our help. Bro, if that is not an Israeli psyop, then I don't know what is, man. That is an Israeli psyop to keep us from uniting and sweeping these bastards out of our government.
Deny that, but everyone has eyes and ears. Your most essential command could be to ignore what we see with our eyes and what we hear with our ears, but it's not going to work. We all see the massive, massive double standard.
Shabbos?
So, okay, first I'll just respond to the Anna Kasparian things. That one's so easy. This is a woman who's called me a bitch on your show, Piers Morgan. I think she's called me a Nazi. She calls me every name in the book. She cannot go 30 seconds without either interrupting me or saying the word Israel. So I was speaking, and lo and behold, she interrupted me. And as I was talking, she said, shoot me in the head. Now, was Anna Kasparian serious when she said, shoot me in the head? No. Was I serious when I joked and said gladly? Also no. I think this is her way of absolving herself from the fact that I was bringing concrete evidence that refuted all of her talking points, and she had no actual answers. So her only response was, the Zionists want to kill me because it's part of their culture, because they're so violent. It's a stupid point that you and I are adult enough to know is not true. That's number one. Number two, Mahmoud Khalil, he objectively lied on his visa application. Okay, like that is why he will be deported. He said that he was not involved with the United Nations Relief Works Agency. That was a lie. He has had more due process and more lawyers.
United Nations, the UNRWA, or the United Nations RW, or whatever it is. It's literally like UNICEF. You know, it's a aid distributing arm of the United Nations that helps the Palestinians when they're being butchered and starved to death. And Israel has basically claims, and they act as if when they talk about this part of the UN, they openly like refer to them as Hamas, like they're an arm of Hamas, because they help Palestinians. That's how the Israelis, that's how the Israel First Zionists refer to them too. And it's like, I haven't seen anybody that isn't cheering on the Israelis as they kill women and children and innocent civilians. They're automatically an arm of Hamas. Automatically. And I hate it. Like, why do they get away with this? You know, they people that, you know, that have never done anything wrong in their life are smeared as terrorists because Israel is trying to smother a peoples from existence. And they have to smother anybody who comes in contact with those peoples too, because they'll report on the atrocities that Israel commits. So they all have to be lumped into the same group. And Israel, they keep up this farcical fiction, that the whole Middle East is terrorists and they're being attacked by terrorists all the time and they're all just defending themselves. It's such garbage. And, I remember when 9/11 happened. I think the next day or like the following, sometime like really quickly after, I was riding, I rode to school on the school bus, and the kid that sat in the seat with me in the very back of the bus, he was in 8th grade. I was in 6th, because he kind of took me under his wing. He was, kind of a friend, took me under his wing. And I remember after 9/11 happened, on the way home one day, I remember him saying, because we didn't know who did it. And he goes, "It's those effing Palestinians. I guarantee it was them." I mean, and that, like, man, that sticks in my head so hard when he said that. And he said it with like he was like, "Ugh, those evil bastards." That was pure propaganda, man. Pure propaganda. That is how brainwashed and propaganda. And the kids, I mean, I still, he's on my friends with me on Facebook, good dude. But he was in 8th grade. Like, he had no idea what he was talking about, but we've been so brainwashed. That was an 8th grader's first instinct, was that it was the Palestinians. What would make you think it was the Palestinians? Like, when I think back, it's like he had no reason to believe that. But they are excoriated and smeared and referred to as subhuman so often, and it's such a repetitive drumbeat that children, assume, like, when something happens, a terrorist attack happens, their first instinct is to jump to this group of people. That is how effective and how well they do their deadly work. They do their evil work.
I sued Harvard. The fact that this guy, we can't even get one person out of the United States after more than 2.5 years, he's getting all of his constitutional rights protected to him. He's able to petition all the way to the Supreme Court. And as I said, the American...
Damn those pesky constitutional rights. Always getting in the way of Israel. How dare they? How dare those founders have put a monkey wrench in our machinations? How dare they have made these rights? How dare they give Muslims rights? We want to be able to kill them indiscriminately. Like they're freaking out that, they can't just unilaterally do all of the evil stuff that they want to do in America. We have laws. Human beings have rights here. And look how upset and how pissed off it makes them that they have to follow rules. And people want me to believe that Israel isn't a bunch of butchers, a bunch of murderers, that they're not massacring these poor captive people. Well, I'm sorry. No, sir. Not when I hear stuff like this. Over the course of my life, and I didn't realize it until recently. Like, I thought back over how deeply this has been beaten into us and ingrained into us. And that's not a coincidence. And I don't believe any of it now. I don't believe any of it because they're counting on me believing this stuff. I mean, and just look how a peaceful Zionist reacts to this Mahmoud Khalil guy. The guy is just a regular person that protested against Israel. Listen to the visceral hatred in this guy's voice. He didn't even protest against Israel. He was like a mediator or something between the Zionist protesters and...
Judicial process will take its turn, and I guarantee you he will be deported. If I'm wrong, I'll gladly go on your show and apologize. That's number 2. Number 3, this idea that it's criticism of Israel that's being stifled, that it's our free speech in the United States that's being stifled. I mean, you guys have Twitter. You can't go more than, 3 posts without another deranged conspiracy theory.
And he doesn't even realize that he just betrayed himself. He's just sitting there bitching about how there's these pesky rights in America and how those damned Americans and their freedom of speech, and in the same breath says, "Oh, it's a conspiracy that you know, it's because of Israel and this and that. And it's like, bro, it just came out of your mouth how you're like pissed off that they have that this guy has rights. And like, it's ridiculous.
If Israel is training dogs to rape in court, and as I said, the American judicial process will take its turn, and I guarantee you he will be deported. If I'm wrong, I'll gladly go on your show and apologize. That's number two. Number three, this idea that it's criticism of Israel that's being stifled, that it's our free speech in the United States.
I mean, you guys see what I'm talking about here. Like the guy literally says that damn, you know, that all these different, you know, laws that we have to be and you know, can't run afoul of. And then says, oh, the idea that it's because they criticized Israel is absurd. Really? Is it? Is it? Because you yourself are a Zionist. Your name is Shabos or whatever the hell it is. And you're like literally viscerally hating this random guy that you don't even know, that you've never met, because he was at a protest against Israel. You know, like, what is, like, they betray themselves. The viciousness with which they and the gusto that they pursue this propaganda with. And, you know, most people, they're not smart enough to really catch this stuff. Or maybe even not even focusing on what's being said enough to catch those little inconsistencies. That's why you guys watch me, you know. You know, you're not going to really get these kind of breakdowns everywhere else where somebody's like parsing all these words and pointing out the more subtle, you know, the more subtle observations that take place in these discussions. You know, they tell on themselves, they betray themselves with the flippant way they go about this stuff.
Being stifled. I mean, you guys have Twitter. You can't go more than, what, 3 posts without another deranged conspiracy theory, whether it's Israel is training dogs to rape Palestinians. Well, I mean, every single time I'm asked to speak on a college campus, anytime I'm asked to go on Piers Morgan, anytime I'm in a Twitter debate, it's all on one stupid thing, and that's Israel. So, Piers, you interviewed Joe Kent 10 minutes ago.
And this guy, he's like pretending as if it's all on this one thing and this and that. He's pretending as if that's for no reason at all. Everybody's so focused on Israel, and Israel, you know, what... Why do they focus on Israel? Israel doesn't do it, bro. Israel has dragged us into a war. Netanyahu has control of our presidential office. You know, your people are being barred from the UK. And you see, that's why it's so important that he refute that the UK did it over a criticism of Israel, because his entire argument hinges on the fact that everybody is unreasonably blaming Israel, and that they have no reason, you know, to think, no evidence that Israel is the locus of this problem. That's his whole argument, and it's total garbage. Bro, it's one, you know, if Cenk, this happening to Cenk was out of the blue, that we weren't in war, and this was 5 years ago, and this happened to Cenk, the guy would have a point. But these things with Israel, they keep popping up every day, and we're supposed to believe that all these are just low IQ anti-Semitic bigotry? No, those days are over, bro. You're not getting away with this garbage anymore. You're not getting away with it. The mask has slipped. We see it now, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Their propaganda works quite well when you haven't seen it, when you don't see where the strings and shit, you know, you can't. But once you've seen it, you know, their propaganda can be picked apart, like I'm doing. You know, I can pick this apart and show it for the crooked, empty lies that they are. But you have to at least be aware of what's going on, or you won't be able to decipher. I mean, it's excellent propaganda. Excellent propaganda. That's why this is so dangerous. And this guy pretending, oh, there's just no reason that Israel should be on everybody's lips and this and that. Bro, like you say, you're on X all the time. Do you even read those posts? Our own Congress over the weekend put forward legislation to merge the IDF with the American military so that their pensions will be paid for by our tax dollars. That's insane, bro. And you're going to tell me that this guy's going to try and pretend that as if, all this is unfair scapegoating of Israel? No, man. No. Why in the hell is first of all, Israel and the Israel lobby is the #1 donor to our Congress. They control Congress. And then they're putting forth first of all, they're giving them billions of dollars every year. And then they're putting forth legislation to merge our militaries. This is a foreign country. And if you want to serve in Israel in their government, you have to renounce. You can't be a dual citizen. You cannot be a dual citizen. I seen Colonel Douglas McGregor talking about this today. Israel and their former ambassador. I think I showed something yesterday that had the guy, Israel's former ambassador to the U.S. He was a U.S. citizen that renounced his citizenship because you can't be a dual citizen and work in their government. Why, bro? We have to do this here. This is unacceptable. People can be dual citizens and live here, I guess. I guess. I don't even like that. But they damn sure can't run for office. I mean, luckily, they can't run for president, but it should go way further than that.
I agree. Cut foreign aid. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. It is 0.8% of our federal budget. It means absolutely nothing. But
it means nothing. 0.7% of our budget. But yeah, what does it mean to Israel? Because that's bullcrap. That's such garbage. He doesn't really mean that because they know that they can't go without our aid. They wouldn't even. They have no resources. Nothing. They're just like a bunch of Jewish businessmen in the desert. They need us. They need our money. And they use it rhetorically. They pretend that Israel doesn't need us so that they can win arguments. That's all. But it's gotten beyond that. Maybe 10 years ago they could get away with that. But it's all busted wide open. It's all out there for everybody to see. And that's why they're trying to merge the IDF with the American military so that they can hide it behind closed doors. It's so corrupt. How is it that we have such a corrupt government, such corrupt politicians, like that are actually serving another country and injuring America in the process? It's beyond an outrage. It's like it's rebellion level outrageous.
all people want to talk about is the foreign aid, is AIPAC, is the Israel lobby. It is so inconsequential. And I actually believe Israel is being used as an excuse to distract us from actual pragmatic issues that our country is facing, like tariffs, like the Epstein list, like immigration, like the economy. Let's talk about those issues. But unfortunately, especially my generation, all they want to talk about is an American lobbying group called AIPAC. All they want to talk about is one of the only democracies in the Middle East, Israel. And again, have those conversations.
What does that have to do with anything? One of the only bro, we don't even live in a democracy. So why don't you go screw yourself with that, bro? People are getting banned from traveling around the Western civilization, and you're talking about democracy, bro. Screw you, man. Screw you. Like I said before, if we have to live under an authoritarian government, I just as soon have a right-wing authoritarian government that's going to throw all these colors out. You know, if we're going to have authoritarianism, let's have an anti-immigration right-wing authoritarian. Let's have that strong man instead of them shoving this bullshit liberalism down our throat, this multicultural bullshit. Man, I'm done with it. If we're going to be tyrannized, well, let it be a right-wing government that does the tyrannizing then. At least us, the white Americans, will get our way then.
Hate Israel as much as you want, be as anti-Semitic as much as you want. But let's be honest, the idea that criticism of Israel is being stifled is ludicrous. It is detached from reality.
Okay, final question for you, Cheng.
No.
If the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is watching this, and he might well be, because I'm about to interview a lady who wants to have his job, which is Kemi Badenoch, who's the leader of the opposition. If he is watching, what is your message to him about what's happened to you?
Yeah, I'd like to know a number of things. How long is my ban? Am I permanently banned from the UK? If I show up in public in the UK, is it really going to cause disorder, or is it going to cause mayhem? And I believe we're the only family to have 2 members banned from Britain. Are we the most dangerous family in the world to the United Kingdom? What are the standards for how you can criticize Israel? Will you ban billions of people in this world who are critical of Israel, or over 60% of Americans?
You know, another thing too, a lot of the stuff they do, the moves that they make around the world and the things that they do, it's literally for rhetorical purposes only. You see, I don't know if you guys have seen like how that they're like courting India, trying to get India to start backing them because they're weaning off of American aid and they're trying to team up with India. Bro, that's total bullshit. India is not going to back Israel. They did that just so when people attack them and say, you know, you're leeching off of us, this and the other, and they can say, yeah, we don't like it either. We're trying to find somebody else. We don't like it either. We don't want your money. That's all of it is just rhetoric, man. They're so clever. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They know they don't actually have to do these things. But if they make like they're trying to, they can win arguments with it. They can win arguments that way. And they do it. They win arguments like that. This guy, all he has to do is shine just a cunt hair of doubt on what Cenk's saying. Cenk and Pierce are saying. And many people will walk away from this show thinking that, you know, it's just, you know, they're just scapegoating Israel. You know, what are the odds? You know, that's, and like, we ignore them at their own peril. That's why, you know, I stay on it, because this stuff is like, you know, this is dangerous and this is detrimental to, like, our future is being affected by this.
Will you ever explain why you ban people? Will you clarify what gets you banned? And why are you singling out one country that cannot be criticized? Israel's population is about the size of Papua New Guinea's. Are you also banning people for criticizing Papua New Guinea? I mean, isn't it absurd that you're only banning people for criticizing one country? Do you not see any of those double standards? So, and finally, what I would ask him is Britain free or is it not free? Are British citizens allowed to have the same opinion as me, travel outside of the country and be allowed back in? Or will they also be banned? Because I would guess that a great majority of British citizens agree with my point of view on Israel, not their point of view. So how far are you going to take this absurdity in protecting a different country in Britain? And by the way, ruining your reputation as the home of freedom by doing so.
Okay.
The genesis of freedom, the genesis of modern Republican democracy.
We've run out of time. All I would say is I had a bagel with you, Cenk, last time I was in Los Angeles, where we both have homes, and at no stage did I feel you were a danger to my life. And I'm going to try and get you back into my country. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So I can return the favor and buy you a nice meal here. And
don't forget to like and subscribe,
that you will not
fellas.
Represent a clear and present danger to my security. But
Piers, how come you never bought me a bagel in LA?
You never
I
asked.
think that's anti-Semitism.
You never asked for one. It's because
okay,
because
next time you're in LA.
Yeah, it's only because you're Jewish. Otherwise, I'd buy you a bagel in a Jewish diner where we had it. By the way, it was Larry King. It was.
But
Larry...
you know, I guarantee you, this guy is an Israeli agent too. Absolutely, they put in guys that are like Mark Levin, that are absolute Zionist nutcases. And they put in the more moderate ones. They know that they're going to pepper the media landscape with any and all pro-Israel opinions. This guy, his job is to make it seem like the Israel advocates aren't trying to hurt America to advantage Israel. They're just trying to make it seem like Israel's just trying to stay in our good graces and they do not actually want anything from us. You know, all of this is just extremely effective propaganda, extremely effective brainwashing. I mean, they have this stuff down pat, man, down pat.
King's old place. So
I'll
will happily, but you know what? We'll all have a bagel at Larry King's old diner. What about that? Guys, thank you very much. Cenk, I'm sorry about what's happened to you. I think it's ridiculous. We'll see how this plays out, but thank you all very much. Well, Kemi Badenoch is the leader of the Conservative Party and the leader of the official opposition to Keir Starmer's Labour government. If she gets her way, then she will be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And she joins me now for her uncensored debut. Kemi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I've never interviewed you.
There's a first time for everything.
Have you been hiding or waiting for the right moment?
I've been waiting for you to ask me, and now you have.
Well, I did ask you in January, and then I fell over and broke my hip.
Oh right. Oh
this
yes.
This is the leader of the Conservatives in England, or the Tories, and of course it's some nig from Nigeria. It's like, come on, dude. She's not even a British. She wasn't even born in Britain.
But you were very nice about it.
How are you now?
Well, you were suggesting it may have been alcohol related,
Yes,
and I had to quickly say it was not alcohol related. But for Americans who are tuning in, because half our audience is American, who are you? Who is Kemi Badenoch?
So Kemi Badenoch is common sense personified.
Colored from Nigeria.
That's what I'm about. I'm a politician who's very much on the right, but my politics is politics which people who are not political will want to share. I believe in family. I believe in equality under the law.
Oh,
I think
why are we having these foreigners shoved down our throats, man? Why? Like, this is crazy. Can't they get a native Brit with the same views as her to do this? Why must we have somebody who was born and raised in another country ruling, or, in charge of us? Like, why? Why do we have to put up with this? It's ridiculous, man. Why do us in the West, white people in the West, why must we be ruled by coloreds from the third world, from the global South? Like, why do we have to put up with this? They don't have to put up with it in their home countries. Nigeria don't have any white people. India doesn't have any white people in the government. Like, it drives me crazy, man. Crazy.
Need our police to do their job, to create a safe society. I think government needs to make sure that it helps to grow the economy. So let's back business, support the people who are out there working hard, even if they're not business owners, whether they're nurses or teachers. Let's drill out oil and gas in the North Sea. Energy is growth. Let's make sure that we can give an inheritance to our children. I'm a mum of 3 children, and quite a lot of
an inheritance.
Is about making.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that, man? Bro, an inheritance? You people aren't even going to exist in 50 years. You're not going to have anything in 50. Like, what are you talking about? What an idiot.
Making sure that they've got something to look forward to when they grow up.
What people say to me, just my personal straw poll of family, friends, and so on, everyone seems to be warming to you, even if they didn't like you to start with. They see you as a kind of most improved player in the Parliament, in the sort of Commons firmament, and I would say that too. But the problem you have is it's not yet showing up properly in the polls in a way that suggests you can be Prime Minister. What are you going to do about that? You've got 2.5 years. It's a long time in politics. A day could be a long time in politics. But how are you going to square that issue of your rising popularity with people on a personal level, but a residual distrust and dislike of your party, which many Brits blame for the chaos that we've now found ourselves in?
So you're absolutely right. I need to make sure that people understand what
They're
the
a bunch
party
of
is
traitors.
like now under my leadership.
Bunch of
we
traitors
made a lot of mistakes over those 14 years. I wasn't there for all of it. I only became an MP in 2017. But what I want people to know is that those of us who didn't like what was happening, who were complaining and trying to steer the party onto the right course, are now in charge. This is a new Conservative Party under new leadership. And we have junked some bad policies, things which were not helpful for the country. Net zero in legislation by 2050, it's deindustrializing, good intentions, cross-party consensus isn't working. So we've junked that. We have to be much tougher on immigration. We let a lot of people down, immigration far too high.
You
so
straight up betrayed your people and pulled the rug out from under them. And they're in fear that they ain't even going to have a damned home in half a century. They're not even sure that they're going to have a homeland.
Much tougher policies. We're leaving the ECHR. We've got a borders plan of how we're actually going to get the numbers down. We want a high-growth, low-immigration economy. If you're using immigration to fuel your growth, then it's a pyramid scheme.
Hell yeah, it is.
We just want to get Britain working again. There are too many people who are on welfare, and it's breaking the back of this country. I used to say that the rider was getting heavier than the horse in terms of the people we were carrying. The rider is now heavier than the horse. We spend more on welfare than we get in income tax. That's not right.
It's ridiculous. And we've got 5 million or so people now on benefits in this country not working, 1.5 million of whom have a variety of mental health issues, predominantly like anxiety and things like this, a sort of failure to be able to deal with regular life stuff. Where have we gone so badly wrong as a country that 1.5 million people are sitting at home anxious, unable to work? What should we do about that?
So we need to remind people what the welfare system is there for. It is there for the most vulnerable, for those who absolutely cannot work, not just those who don't want to work. And I think COVID shifted the understanding. We spent a lot of money, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of pounds, paying people to stay at home. Some people just decided they quite liked staying at home, and it felt like the government could afford it. We were actually borrowing that money. What's gone wrong is that too many people think that we are an infinitely rich country. We can give money to people who don't want to work. We can give money to people abroad. We can fund everybody who wants to come and live here, and we can't do that. And what really worries me now is that we now have a government that genuinely believes that. We didn't believe that as Conservatives. We were trying to manage and get a balance. We got the balance wrong. Labour really believed that you can just tax, and pay for benefits. And that is making the country poorer.
As we were preparing to do this today, there's been a further development in the scandal of Lord Mandelson. He was a UK ambassador to Washington briefly. He'd been fired from 2 previous Labour governments.
Hezbollah is currently
Keir
waging
Starmer
a
brought him
military
back
campaign
again,
against
only to
Israel and
have to
southern
then
Lebanon
fire
that
again
is
for
effectively humiliating the Israeli.
Let's check this out. Hell yeah, drop site.
Hezbollah is currently waging a military campaign against Israel and southern Lebanon that is effectively humiliating the Israeli military and government. In the last 24 hours, they've launched several more FPV drone attacks that have killed a number of IDF soldiers in southern Lebanon. At the same time, the Israeli government has been releasing propaganda footage intended to show how deeply they're penetrating into the country, including capturing historic Beaufort Castle in southern Lebanon, which is a site that they also held in the 1980 invasion of Lebanon. But in doing so, they're making critical errors that should never be made in warfare in 2026, and they're giving Hezbollah information that they're using and exploiting to launch more and more FPV drone attacks, which have inflicted tremendous and growing casualties on IDF troops in southern Lebanon and northern Israel.
Yeah.
So, Ahmad, the establishment media has not really been covering this, or they've been covering it in a way which is not really understanding the military aspects of what's taking place there. Can you tell us a bit about what has happened in the last 24 hours since we last spoke, and what is taking place with the Hezbollah counterattacks against the Israeli invasion of southern Lebanon?
Yes, Murtaza. Look, one, Israel put out news that they've occupied this castle. It put out PR statements. It said, look, we've taken this castle. We haven't taken it since 1982. Look how far deep we penetrated. Hezbollah's in disarray. And establishment media, and I was watching like a bunch of analysts on different, Western media outlets, and they were basically parroting Israeli claims. But the issue is, anyone who's watched Ukraine-Russia in the past,
Should look like Call of Duty.
years, and anyone who's seen what's happening in Hezbollah, between Hezbollah and Israel in the past 2 months, knew what was coming. What was coming fundamentally was a point that is strategic in 1982 is no longer strategic in 2026.
Not
over
Call
here,
of Duty.
And I'm going to show you some of the
Looks
videos.
like Call of Duty.
But over
Man.
here,
What the
your
hell?
army is sitting ducks, right?
Wow.
You're basically telling Hezbollah, look, this is exactly where we are, right? Look, here are our troops out in the open, no protective netting, no heavy armor, nothing at all. You know where this is, right? And because you made such a big point, a big fuss in the media, Hezbollah operators all the way down know this and they can react to it, as well as the fact that they know you're going to stay there because this is a propaganda victory for you. This is meant to be a big strategic gain for you. So you're going to stay there, waiting, holding it. And then as a drone operator, as a Hezbollah drone operator, and this happened, they came and peppered this area. And this is what we got. We got a death, 3 Israeli deaths in the past 32 hours or so, as well as a lot, like 6 additional soldiers were wounded, including 3 severely injured in this attack. Right, this one also had multiple injuries and 1 or 2 severe, and this one was I think only one other one was severely injured. Like in 32 hours, Hezbollah has managed to find the troops, target them, and pepper them over and over again with FPV drones. All 3 of these
and Israel's the victim,
FPV
of
drones
course.
in the last 32 hours. So let's look at how it happened, right? So this video was the first video released 31st of May. So this incident took place yesterday and they published it today. So potentially less than 24 hours after the incident it was published. Usually it would take them a few days at least or a few weeks at least. But now Hezbollah side understands the propaganda narrative, but also these FPV drones are much further. Like the Israeli side has come further into southern Lebanon. That means if you're a Hezbollah PV drone operator, they came to you. You're 20 kilometers away from the front line. So instead of coming closer to the front line so your drone can reach, they've come to you. You can just set up exactly where you were stationed. You don't have to risk your life. You don't have to risk your command your soldiers' lives by sending them out there. They're there, they know where they are. So they managed to release this footage less than 24 hours. And look, this is the Israeli footage, right? It's showing them the castle. This is the Israeli drone. And the Hezbollah drone, as you can see, almost took the exact same path, right? They came over the castle almost the exact same way. This is potentially a few hours after the Israeli drone was there. The Hezbollah drone is here now, right? And they come and they know troops are somewhere here. So they go flying around. They come to this side of the castle. They fly around. And over here, he identifies 3 figures, 1, 2, and 3, picks a target, and goes after him.
Bust their asses. Good.
And this is what's critical about, like we've spoken in previous videos, is the Hezbollah side is learning. And what's important important from the important lesson he learned from the Ukraine war is scale of this matters. The number of drones you launch matters. So in a short space of time, they launched one drone, and then this is another attack, an incident. Again, on the same day, they launched another drone. So within a few hours of the Israeli sides taking this castle, they've managed to launch multiple FPV drone attacks. And let's count them. So that was the first drone. This is the second drone. Again, this is a castle taking the same route. It's flying a bit to the left side of the castle from the operator's view, going after the bush where saw the 3 soldiers. Now they see nobody there, right? Pivot to the right. They see an Israeli tank, and look at this. They see an Israeli soldier. Now look, the Israeli soldier starts running here. He can't hear it. The tank there is so loud. You can't hear a medium-sized loud drone operating. It sounds like a flying lawnmower.
That's crazy.
Right? And what, 1, 2, 3, within 3 seconds, like how far can you run within 3 seconds? So it's just absolutely peppering them over there. So that's the second attack, right? And then in the same video, there was
bastards
another drone that came, again, over the hill, right? Going to the same area, trying to find that soldier that potentially got away, right? Montazar, they did your favorite thing, battle damage assessment. Look at the damage the previous drone had, right? They can't find the soldier, and they go for the armored carrier over here. And there it is. Again, they launched an attack on this castle, and they know Hezbollah has these drones, yet they're using unarmored personnel carriers like this, or light armor. This is not tanks. Their troops are riding on these. They're vulnerable to this. This is not a well-planned through incursion and attack. And again, this attack happened the day before. So almost as the Israeli troops arrived, right, they come, they're flying over, and, there's 2 tanks. This was the day before the previous footage, and they go for this tank. And this is the first piece of, this tank has the first piece of protective gear against drones. There's no fiber optic. There's no netting like the Israeli sides talked about so much. So within a short space of time, Hezbollah was able to stage these attacks. But here's the other thing. If you go back and read...
Wow. Jeez. Check this out.
Ain't that amazing? So I got married very young. I was 18. It was by choice, okay? Everyone asked me that. Actually, the last
sad as in how she was treated.
time I went to the doctor was right after I got married, and one of the nurse practitioners was asking me my age, and like on every single paperwork you fill out for the doctor.
She got married at 18, and she's going to explain what she went through, all the social shaming she went through just because she got married young.
You have to check off if you're single or married, and I'm 18, and she noticed that I checked off that I was married, and this woman literally asked me if it was a choice. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm tan with dark hair, but I was born here. I'm white. Yes, it was a choice.
Wow.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Yeah, she has blue eyes. What made you think that she didn't have a choice? Bro, our society is so cooked, man. So cooked. Like, they shame a woman if she isn't dying to ride the carousel at 18.
Yes, I'm madly in love with my husband. And this interaction got me thinking about the stigma that comes with getting married very young. When I first started this whole social media thing and posting on TikTok, it was around this time last year, like early spring. And I was just having fun at the time. I had no plan of what exactly I was going to do with social media. And I posted a video getting ready, doing my makeup, literally just talking about my marriage story, obviously, because I have nothing else going for me. But we do have a cool story. We got engaged, married, and moved within the same week. I think it's pretty badass. So I post about it. And I'm like, this is cute and different and unique. And a few hours goes by and the video's doing well. Did not expect it. My TikTok at the time was for my pageant and modeling friends, because when you model and compete in pageants, all of your friends are kind of scattered across the country. So that's kind of how we would stay in touch. But a few hours later, I'm checking the comments and they're horrid. They're like, he will cheat on you. He groomed you. Can't wait to see the divorce in 5 years. Are you okay? And these comments were mainly coming from...
Wow, he cheated. He groomed you. Can't wait to see the divorce in 5 years. Bro, these are some miserable ass women, man. Miserable.
Age white women. And I've now come to find that the users of TikTok are the same women that would pick up a People magazine at like a Ralph's in the checkout line. You know how when you're checking out and it's like Blake Lively on the front cover talking about her divorce and the entire magazine is just covered in celebrity drama? Like, that's what these women enjoy doing. So I've realized that TikTok specifically is full of miserable middle-aged women.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Bro, that is TikTok. A bunch of miserable ass, single, bitchy white women.
Oh, the reason I'm laughing is because this was already exposed 20 years ago by Nora Vincent in her book Self-Made Man. Vincent went undercover as a man for 18 months and specifically documented that it was the middle-aged women who were the most bitter. And because she was a woman in disguise, there was nothing she could do to prove she was different. She was guilty simply for appearing to be a man. That book came out 20 years ago. And now, 20 years later, those same bitter middle-aged women...
The woman put a bullet in her brain. That's how badly she was treated. She killed herself because of how they treated her when they thought she was a man.
Found TikTok. Welcome to the Femisphere.
Her entire life was, oh, men have it so easy. Oh, men, they're just this patriarchy. They have it so easy, so easy. Then she did it, and she was like, it drove her crazy. She was like crying and stuff all the time because of how brutally she was treated by these people. Like, you know, and she ended up killing herself. But, you know, she was a men's advocate before she did go. She like pretty much she was a turncoat.
If you think the manosphere is toxic, the Femisphere says, hold my beer.
But at the same time, you know, I was like, let's keep going. Let's keep posting about it. Let me actually share my opinions on getting married young in society and how a wife should treat her husband. And that's how we got here. And my whole point in sharing this story, though, is because I get DMs probably daily of 18, 19, 20-year-old women who have found their person, but they're terrified of what others think if they were to get married that young. Sometimes it's, hey, I want to drop out of college and get married. Or sometimes it's, hey, we don't really have the financial resources to do this right now, but we want to build a life together. And
yeah, they have no accountability. Like Jack Nicholson said, you know, how do you write women so well? I think of a man and I take away reason and accountability. But man, I did not know that those beheading videos were CIA.
my advice is always that there is going to be multiple paths you have to choose from at various points in your life. And when you spend time in solitude, you're able to better understand what you want out of this life. If you're constantly surrounded by noise and chaos, it's going to be very hard to do so, which is why I believe so many women end up in marriages they hate, jobs they hate, and around friends that do not lift them up.
Yes. We talked about this, gentlemen. Remember?
I would like to do that with him.
That's
I want
your
to
choice.
Stay with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to feel safe.
So when the booger comes up, no, safe, you have to take risks. You don't have to be safe.
Maybe
you have to be
that's the problem.
safe, but at this moment, it's about taking risks. It's the risk of allowing yourself to be different with him and to allow him to be different with you.
You see, this is not the advice women are giving each other. This is why we keep highlighting Esther Perel, because women only hear other women. I'm not saying they will always follow her advice, but at least they hear it.
Well, and I've noticed too, watching video TikToks and stuff, that women, you know, they'll have a date and then they'll come on after the date, even if it went perfectly. They'll talk about what happened on the date, and at the end they'll say, what do you guys think? Am I crazy? Like, you know, is it not that big of a deal? Like, I seen a girl that was like, the guy was trying hard too quickly at the beginning. You know, he was trying really hard, and she was kind of like, he put baby in his phone under her, you know, her contact as baby, and they'd only been talking for like a couple days or something. And she's like, you know, she likes the guy and this and that. And then at the end, she's like, so what do you guys think? What should I do? And I'm thinking, like, what do you want to do? Because it sounded to me like this girl didn't care. It didn't matter to her. She still liked the guy. But because he did that, she had to go online and and you know what those women are going to do? They're not going to give her the good advice. They're going to give her the worst advice. They're going to give her the advice that, you know, that guy's crazy. He's a nutcase, I'm sure. And, you know, by the end, like, she posts that, and I'm sure within an hour, she's convinced this guy is a psychopath that's going to, you know, eat her flesh for dinner. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the sisterhood, and they've propagandized or brainwashed women into thinking that they should put everything up for a committee vote. I wanted to say to the girl, like, yo, it's your life. Do you like the guy? You know, does this bother you? Because if it doesn't bother you, why the hell are you trying to find reasons for it to bother you? Why are you putting this up for committee vote? Like, do you not like this guy? Or do you want them to talk you out of it? Because she seemed to like him. Like, she was like, you know, it's not that big of a deal to me. It is, you know, it didn't bother her, but you could tell she was like, oh my God, people were like, this is crazy. He's, you know, he put me under baby after a day or two. You know, like, I need to because she knew it's going to be a big hullabaloo online on TikTok. But she honestly didn't care. And I just, like, this is so toxic, man. So toxic. Hey, girl, do you like the guy? I mean, and the guy being, you know, into you and moving, like, that's not a bad thing. It's not like he beat his last girlfriend. The guy's just into you and he's excited. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it just blows my mind, you know, and the girl, I think she probably found it attractive, but because they've grown up in the society and it's all about the sisterhood and they've been brainwashed to think, you know, I remember I've watched a lot of old movies and hearing women talk back in the day, you know, they didn't tell people what happened between them and their beau, the guy they were dating. That was their business. Now, if they had been dating for a while and the guy cheated or did something like that, they would go, when they needed advice, when they didn't know what to do, then they would go to their friends. Whereas this girl, she was fine with it. She had made up her mind, her personal feelings about it. She had made that or figured that out, decided that already. She didn't need advice. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just agreeing with what this guy's saying here. This sisterhood thing is so toxic because these are strangers that they're asking for advice from, and they're bitter. They're bitter, which is literally what Christianity sought to relieve. It's supposed to keep people from getting bitter and resentful.
They do not cancel her for holding women accountable.
Damn, you're good.
Now, this young lady does not share the same luxury because she is in her prime, doing something that millennial women have been rebuking for decades.
So what does that look like? What does spending time in solitude look like? It can be not going on your phone first thing in the morning and grabbing a notebook and a pen to write instead. It can be going for a walk outside with no music, no podcast, no phone. Something that I do now, which I realize is a privilege and a blessing. Actually, no. Forget privilege. I've worked my ass off for it. Is Noah and I will randomly like book a trip every 4 to 6 weeks, usually in the middle of the week, to just go spend time in solitude and away from our typical environment. We literally just got back from Malibu yesterday. There was a couple decisions I needed to make, but I couldn't seem to clear my head here. So I just turned off my phone for most of the week and allowed myself to think. And when you spend that time in solitude and figure out what you really want out of this life, you're then able to make that rational decision without letting the opinions of others.
Yeah, she's literally just saying, make your decisions without anybody else's input. Decide what you want. You need to get away from all these hens, these hen-pecking women. Make up your own mind, because you're going to have to live with it. And I guarantee you, these bitter women, they put these things up for a vote before the committee. Then they get to their over-the-hill, past-the-wall period when they can't find anybody. And then they start thinking about all of the things that have happened to them in their life. And then they feel hurt and cheated and injured by the community, the sisterhood, you know, and instead of them helping women avoid that, you know, they try to hang it around young women's neck too. It's evil.
Sway you. If I was not grounded in who I am and in my marriage, if I did not feel confident in both Noah and I, do you know how easy it would be to let social media sway the way I view myself and my husband? I literally see it all the time. To influencers, they're so happy in their marriage, but then they blow up on social media and everything changes. Because every single outside influence, including something as silly as social media, will influence you if you allow it to.
Keyword, rational, not emotional. Once again, who are the emotional ones in this equation? Studies consistently show that young women are the most negatively affected demographic when it comes to social media and mental health. And here is the part nobody wants to say. It is predominantly women doing it to other women. These young girls are scared to show off their boyfriends because of the romantic consumerism we talked about in yesterday's video.
I think this is consumerism marrying romanticism, becoming romantic consumerism.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it's you know, it's emotional capitalism.
Just like how women do not wear makeup for male validation, they are not hiding their boyfriends for male validation either. It is all for the sisterhood. It is all for female approval. This is why this young lady is getting so much hate. She broke the code. She opted out of the hot dog carousel, and the sisterhood cannot forgive her for it.
So when it comes to something like getting married young, I tell every single woman to take this time in solitude, and most importantly, only care about the opinion of your future husband.
Yeah.
She did not say that.
That's crazy.
Only care about the opinion of your future husband.
God, where can I find another one like her?
If you know this is the man you are going to spend the rest of your life with, his opinion is the only one you should care about. Now, at the beginning of dating, before engagement, it is important that you have some approval from family members and friends. And of course, this is case dependent because everyone has a different relationship with their parents. But if you have a relationship with them and they do not approve of this guy at all, that most definitely increases your chances for divorce. But when it comes down to, hey, everyone loves this guy, we want to get married, we're just young and don't have it all figured out, but we want to anyways, this is when it is only his opinion that matters. Because even if your family and friends like the guy, they like him, they're cool with him, they think you guys should get married at some point, everyone kind of squirms when you say you're getting married as an 18, 19-year-old. They just do. They'd rather you go to college and give it out for free in Phi Kappa Alpha. Like, think about it, because these are some of the comments I got. It was like, don't you want to have fun? Don't you want to go to college and experience life? Why do we claim that experiencing life means you have to be single? Why is sleeping around a part of having fun?
Wow. Wow. Based. Why do you have to be single to experience life? Based as hell. Oh my God. Wow. I can't remember the last time I heard a woman say something like that.
Damn, you're good.
Oh my goodness. She is cooking. Allow me to provide the context here, because this question deserves a real answer. The quote-unquote fun of the college hot dog carousel comes from rebellion, pure and simple. She said the only opinion that matters is from your future husband. And that is precisely what the feminist movement spent decades fighting against. Sleeping around gave women a sense of power because it went against patriarchal norms. I do not have to be the woman you want me to be. So I am going to do everything you said I could not do, and more. The more meant I'm gonna ride the hot dog carousel in my prime years and still marry Prince Charming at the end. Have the cake, eat it too. That is exactly what Sex and the City sold. Carrie married Mr. Big in the final episode. The fantasy was complete, but the women who believed that fairy tale are now middle-aged. Prince Charming never showed up, or he showed up and left. So they rewrote the script and brought the same machine back to tell the story of middle-aged women still finding themselves. It is a disgrace how these older women are destroying younger girls. They never provided a blueprint for contentment. They only provided a blueprint for consumption. At least
I tell you what, it is a disgrace that the last generation of women that were told to get married, it was a god dang disgrace that they told these young women in the 70s, 80s, or whenever it was, that they encouraged these young women to go out and experience life and this and that, when they themselves had gotten married young and had chosen a different path. They advocated for women to take a life path that they had no idea what the consequences would be. No idea. Because all this stuff that's been happening to these younger generations, millennials, Gen Z, it's all these are untread paths. They are creating their own path, their own trail, and their mothers and their female family members convinced them that it was a good idea to go to college and to ride the carousel and to just jump from hot dog to hot dog until they were worn out, rode hard, and put up wet. Like, how could they have done that? They actually told these girls to pursue a life that they had no idea, whether it would lead to happiness or a total, catastrophe. And they themselves had enjoyed their life, had families and a husband and lived their life. But no, their daughters didn't get that chance because their selfish, bitchy mother or aunt or whatever steered them wrong, steered them onto a course where the outcome was unknown, instead of the tried and true traditional get married, have a family, live your life. The propaganda, it did its deadly work all too well.
Show us the results of the traditional system. We can compare those results to what we see today, and the conclusion is not complicated. What is happening now is clearly not working.
I have way more fun with my husband than I ever would by myself. And there's something so unique and beautiful about starting from the bottom with the love of your life and building together. Now what has happened in society is we have told both men and women that they need to build separate lives before somehow merging the two together. But two separate lives do not easily merge. Marriage used to be the starting point. Now we've said it ruins success. But the funny thing is, on average, married couples earn 30% more than unmarried individuals. And not because we're combining two incomes now, but it also applies if just one of them is working or if they run a business together. Because when you have the right person in your corner, you will exponentially grow in every single area of your life. Noah and I basically had nothing when we first got married.
Not only that, but as a man, if you have a wife and a family, you will always get paid more. Always. You will always get the raise first. You will always be the last one fired. Every job that I have ever had, that was apparent. And, because I didn't have a wife and kids, my raises didn't come as often. I was the first one that was laid off. Like that, my entire life I've dealt with that. And I've always been jealous of the guys with a wife and family because they got paid so much more than I did. And, they never got sent home because there wasn't enough work or whatever. They always had a job. I was the guy that the boss did, felt fine with, not paying for a day, or because it's harder for a business owner or a boss to fire a guy with a wife and kids. It's so easy for them to fire a bachelor. They don't even think twice. They lose a wink of sleep over me. And then people wonder why men can't afford families. It's like, yeah, because we're getting stomped all over by everything.
I was starting a new business in a new city. He was just starting a new career. I moved straight out of my parents' house into our new apartment. On paper, anyone would have said, that's a bad idea. You're going to struggle unnecessarily. Why not just move in together to see if you're compatible? But the thing is if we would have moved in together, we would have had the same struggles just as individuals instead of as a married couple.
Yeah.
I also think there's something really dystopian about a man and woman splitting rent. It's kind of gay. If you're a man and you ask your girlfriend to Venmo you for rent, you're gay. I'm sorry. It's different when you're married and you have the same bank account and just the guy's paying the bills and the woman doesn't even know how much the rent or the mortgage is. But anyways.
This is pure gold.
She's
using shaming language in a positive direction, and I love it. The word she's looking for is simp. Men who do this are simp jutsu masters. I have seen stories of men paying their wife enormous amounts monthly while still married, and the wife knowing it and continuing to extract resources even after separation. The foundation was broken from the beginning, and that is exactly her point. You do not unite purely for romantic reasons. You unite because you are stronger together. That used to be the entire point of a household. Two people building something neither could build alone.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but it's like, you have two people working and trying to scrounge together the money for rent. Twice as much of a network, twice as much brain power, twice as much, you know what I mean? Like, I absolutely get why people get married, even though even if the woman isn't working, she's still thinking, she still has a network, a community around. Like, it is kind of dumb for people, women to be single, men to be single, and then try to build something up. And then it is stupid. It is dumb. We had it right. Our society, our culture had all this shit figured out already. But we're too smart for our own good, though. We know best. And hey, that's why we're failing, we're declining,
Agenda promotes individualism, so everything that gives women responsibility and requires sacrifice is automatically labeled toxic. And yet, these same strong independent women are cooking alone, cleaning alone, paying bills alone, doing everything they would have been doing in a partnership. But hey,
right, instead of having a man to do that with, I mean, it costs the same amount of money to live with a man as it does to live alone. And these women were just tricked into this awful way of life. We've all been forced into it, shoehorned into this garbage way of life.
Thought counts, right?
Everything on paper would look like a big no. But the thing is, you're not supposed to have it all figured out before you get married. You figure it out by getting married and going through it.
It's the same thing with kids. I remember my dad telling me, he goes, you're waiting to have kids till you're ready. He goes, you may as well just have them now because you'll never be ready. You'll never be ready. He's like, no matter how long you wait, you'll never be ready. So you may as well just do it now, because otherwise you'll be waiting forever.
Can't have something figured out without going through it. Like, we are very much still figuring it out. We're very young. We're still very much in the building.
And that creates bonding. They're going to be like that much more in love that they struggled together and they made it through together. I mean, that creates a serious bond. Like, then you kind of are teammates. Like that, yeah, that's my woman right there. Yeah, we ride or die, like, absolutely. Man, we've just been totally we got screwed so hard by this culture. Like, just pulled the rug out from under us right when I turned 18. Right out from under me.
But you absolutely do not figure it out by just waiting for the feeling of being ready. A lot of people think there is that feeling of, oh, I finally feel ready to do this, and once I have that feeling, then I'll do it. But you never have that feeling because there's always something else that could happen to make it the perfect timing.
It's embarrassing that a 20-year-old has figured out what women twice her age are still refusing to accept.
Growing up, it was never my plan to get married at 18. That was not something that I thought about in my childhood. In fact, I actually fully relate to young women who say they never want to get married. I understand why people in society say they don't want marriage, because there's really no great examples of marriage. All the movies suck, all the shows suck, every celebrity cheats and gets divorced. You grew up on Call Her Daddy and Sex in the City. Like, of course we don't think of marriage as this beautiful, wholesome thing. And then many of us didn't grow up with the best examples either. But it is our job to not repeat that cycle in our own marriages and families. And I want to be extremely reverent in how I speak about my parents and my childhood because I have the utmost respect for them. They also listen to the show. They gave me an amazing childhood.
You know, and the problem with the marriage thing in like media is you only hear about marriages that end. Nobody is constantly holding, oh, look, they're still together. They're still together. They're still. No, all you hear about, oh, they broke up. Oh, they're divorced. Blah, you know, that's all you ever hear. So no, of course that's going to be the case.
I never felt like I went without, and specifically my mom was such a wonderful example to me because she has a very successful career, but she told me my entire childhood that she chose entrepreneurship because she knew when she had kids it was going to be the most flexible career in which she could work from home and also be with us as kids. And she never missed a game, a pageant, traveled to all my modeling gigs with me when I was a teenager, dropped us off at every school event, picked us up from school every single day, and still was successful and had her own hobbies. But I cannot lie. Everyone in my family is divorced besides my parents. Their parents are divorced. All of their siblings have been divorced. And so they themselves did not have a good example of what a healthy marriage looks like. And they instead chose to break that cycle of divorce. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to follow their footsteps, continuing to break that cycle of divorce, and also give our future children an even better example than I had.
She is absolutely right. And this is the part that keeps getting overlooked when it comes to men. Men consistently get the short end of the stick in divorce proceedings, in how they are portrayed in film and television, and in how single mothers sometimes frame men to their children from an early age. This space, the manosphere, was built on those experiences. Men who were husbands, fathers, sons, and boys who encountered a system that was not designed with their well-being in mind. So when men say, be careful about marriage, it is not rebellion. It is not hatred toward women. It is protection. A woman can initiate a divorce for reasons that have nothing to do with wrongdoing on your part, and the financial consequences fall on you regardless of who was right or wrong. If you understand how that system is actually built, the only rational conclusion is to approach it with eyes wide open.
That is the ultimate goal. Getting married young also teaches you responsibility because you grow up a lot faster because you kind of have to. And I get so sick of the child bride comments. Like even Olivia Rodrigo, who's 23 years old, said she'd be a child bride if she got married right now. Which, like, number one is kind of a slap in the face to the actual child brides, like the 9-year-old girls who literally have no choice other than to be a child bride.
Pathetic.
But it also just continues to infantilize adult women. Your 20s now are seen as an extension of your teenage years, as if you're still a kid in your 20s. Woo! Which only gives us an excuse to act like children and never take responsibility. And if you live that way for your entire 20s, by the time you get into your 30s, you have no idea how to be an adult. It's actually embarrassing how many adult children we have running around.
This is pure gold.
And this propaganda campaign to infantilize you and tell you that in your 20s you're still a kid is on purpose. Because the people that are building things right now, the people that are upholding society, the wealthy business owners and high performers that you claim to hate, once they're gone, it's going to be us left to run society. And if we have a society full of adults who never grew up, we're going to starve and die. That's why it's a big deal. If we have no one getting married and having children, then our society is just going to end. If we tell women in their 20s that they are basically children, then they're not going to get married and have children in their most fertile years.
She's cooking. Don't stop. Please don't stop. If you want to destabilize a society, target
how many times is fucking idiot gonna do that stupid ass champagne bottle popping, bro? Like, okay, we get it. You don't have to do it half a dozen goddamn times, bro.
Woman, this is not a new strategy. It is as old as recorded history.
Yeah, and so exactly. Why the hell are you popping these stupid ass bottles?
Did not approach Adam first. The most vulnerable point of entry in any system is the one most susceptible to influence. Social media has simply industrialized that vulnerability at a scale no previous generation ever had to navigate. If the system genuinely wanted women to mature, it would have held them accountable long before TikTok existed.
And I remember the couple times that I posted that we didn't have a wedding and we didn't do a honeymoon, so many women were like, oh, he can't afford that for you. He can't afford your dream wedding. And I also mentioned in a post that we sold my car when we got married because we actually made money off of it. And again, people were like, well, what did he sacrifice? As if I'm entitled to put us into debt because I'm a woman and I'm owed a huge wedding and honeymoon. So this was the first actual vacation we have taken since we've been married, because that is what it requires. That is what it looks like to bet on each other and trust God.
Well, dude, I mean, just what she said right there about the women, oh, what about your honeymoon and this and that? You know, her idea of marriage and modern women's idea of marriage, they couldn't, I mean, it's like the North Pole and the South Pole. They could not be more opposite. These women, it doesn't compute what she is getting, what she got married for and what her marriage looks like and what it's going to look like. It does not compute. to those women, they're thinking, well, then why did you get married? What's the point of getting married if you don't get a big wedding and a honeymoon? What's the point of getting married if you don't get a bunch of free shit? That's what those women are thinking. You know, they think marriage, it's just like it's a celebration of their godliness, and it's the beginning of their new life where they're going to have a full-time man pouring all kinds of stuff into the, you know, goods and money, and that there's going to be pouring into. That's how they see it. It's just like one big gifting orgy, you know, where they're just being showered. That's their idea of marriage. You know, so sacrifice, they're like, what? Why would you get married to just a sacrifice? What? They don't even, I mean, it does not compute. And it's like, well, that just shows you how dead our society is already, how dead it is. I mean, it's dead, man, because, you know, we didn't instill having children into our people. You know, whoever is behind this knew what they were doing. You know, that stuff has to be nurtured. It's got to be passed down. And they made sure it wasn't passed down. And, you know, there's a missing link, you know, and, you know, without the connection, man, I just, you know, I think it's wishful thinking to think, oh, we still have time. We can still save it. We just need more Christianity. You know, we need to, you know, hunker down and this and that. Dude, I wish it were that simple, but, you know, population collapse, and like this stuff is pretty complex, dude. And, you know, we think about all the, what isn't it, like 50% of women between like 30 and 4, like some ridiculous amount of women are going to be without kids at 40. And like, I don't know. I'm thinking it might be too late, man. I don't know.
With the rest. I get it. You see huge glamorous weddings and honeymoons on social media and think that is what you deserve as a woman, but you have no idea who paid for that wedding. The bride could be...
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. It looks like we're kind of screwed, but I mean, I still hold out hope and pray I'm wrong and pray something will happen. But honestly, if we're being, you know, for real and objective, yeah, we're cooked. We're cooked. You know, like a lot of people are going to be dying alone. You know, and our civilization, I don't see it really, you know, I just don't see it happening. Maybe if we consolidated, like imported all the Europeans and hunkered down all the white, maybe.
A wealthy family, or now they're in massive debt because of a party and a vacation right after. Now they're starting a marriage in 6 figures of debt, which, by the way, will hurt a marriage much more than just skipping it altogether.
Speaking of debt, women carry the largest share of student loan debt in America, and a significant portion of those degrees do not translate into the economic outcomes that were promised. So the debt comes to the relationship.
And that's why you never see men getting all bent out of shape when women say, "Oh, well, we're more educated than men. We're doing more than men, and this and that." Men are contented to. They're like, "Okay, well, just wait, you know, we'll see how that works out for you. You've made your investment, but, you know, like you don't get to just say, see, I have a diploma. I benefited from it, from getting a loan. No. We'll come back at the end of your life and we'll judge how, you know, whether or not that $100,000 in debt was a good investment. You know, like, let's wait till all the data is in before we make a judgment on all these loans. But you don't see men getting all bent out of shape when women say that stuff, because we all secretly know you're an idiot for going to college. It's worthless. Anybody with any sense forewent that. Charlie Kirk forewent. He said, I'm not doing this. This is stupid. I'm not going back. I'm not going to retake high school courses. No, thank you.
And
paid for them.
You do not hear that discussed alongside the narratives about financial independence. And that is why you increasingly see women who were the loudest advocates for independence and against marriage suddenly getting married, and the female internet collectively losing its mind over it. The hypocrisy is visible. A lot of these voices were never operating from principle. They were operating from circumstance. And when the circumstance changes, so does the position. Romantic consumers to the end.
So the entire point of this episode, and what I really want to get at, is the internet has changed our expectations of marriage, and we no longer view it as the starting point. And for the most part, our society looks at getting married young as a waste of your youth and a waste of time. But I would argue that a bigger waste of our youth is spending our most fertile years in a classroom studying liberal arts.
Boom! I told you so. I have been saving one clip for last, because this one speaks directly to you, gentlemen. Take this with you as today's red pill vitamins.
So when you get married as a young adult, you take on responsibilities that you wouldn't as an individual, especially as a man. My husband would be the better person to talk about this than me, but he is responsible for me. He's responsible for my safety and well-being, my protection, for taking care of me. And we both have the responsibility to be loyal to each other, to build an amazing foundation now so that our children will grow up in a home of love and structure, not chaos. And that looks like being financially responsible, planning where we're going to raise them, what our dynamic is going to look like then. It takes the focus off of just yourself and puts you in the mindset of how can I serve my husband? What can I do to set us up for success? What can I cultivate now that my future children will appreciate? You are no longer focused on just you. You're now thinking about how you can build a legacy. And Noah and I have come a really long way in 2 years, and we're both really proud of what we've built so far. I'm 20, he's 23, and neither of us could have built what we've built now as quickly as we did without each other.
What did you notice? This is a woman who understands the mission. This is a woman who understands her role. This is a woman who is locked in. And here is what that requires from you. Because this does not work on its own. A captain without purpose never reaches his destination. Society does not only want women to stay immature, it wants men to stay immature too. It wants you focused on love and romance as the entire foundation. Because feelings change, and a marriage built on feelings alone is only as stable as her emotional state on any given day. This young woman, 20 years old, just described a partnership built on purpose, protection, provision, and shared mission. Not just feelings, not just vibes, a foundation. That is what this channel has been saying from day one. And it took a 20-year-old woman to say it clearly enough for the whole internet to hear it. A 20-year-old figured out what a generation of women still refuses to accept. There is nothing more to add. Take that with you today. Listen to all, follow none.
Man, we working.
You are a self-described.
I don't know why Nick's taking so long. I mean, he's sure he'll be on any minute. Hmm. Hmm. You know, I'm gonna put it on a break for a minute while I find some. I need to use the bathroom. I'm find something to watch. So, second. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a 3-minute break. If you guys saw this earlier, Colonel
Americans, I'm Colonel Douglas McGregor, President and CEO of the National Conversation. I've got some questions for you. How much did you pay for gas this week? How much?
Apparently, I think he's starting a new political party, something like
your
that.
Grocery bill. Have you looked your kids in the eye and wondered quietly, privately in the dark, how bad this is going to get? If you did, you are not alone. Tens of millions of Americans are asking the same question tonight. And beneath all of it, beneath the anger, beneath the anxiety, beneath the exhaustion of feeling like no one in Washington is listening, there is one question that cuts through everything else. All for what? We are more than 2 months into an undeclared war with Iran that Washington told you was necessary, even inevitable. Right. Here is what more than 2 months of war with Iran have done for us. Gas prices have skyrocketed. Commercial ship traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which a critical share of the world's fuel, fertilizer, and feedstock must pass, is down by more than 90%. 90%. That is not merely a statistic, it's a catastrophe for the entire civilized world. When fertilizer doesn't move, crops don't grow. When fuel doesn't flow, trucks don't run. Critical medications don't arrive, food doesn't reach the shelf. The price increases coming to your grocery store in the months ahead will not announce themselves politely. They will arrive quietly and mercilessly in your heating or air conditioning bill.
Really isn't really all that much on. I guess I can just do some of this stuff. It's always entertaining. Boy. I don't know, at least, I mean, I think it's entertaining anyway. It always kind of riles me up a little bit.
I know men probably be so happy when they break up with their girl and they don't have to pay for their food no more because your meal literally be $10 when you by yourself. But when you're in a relationship, that should be $80.
The hardest thing about getting older, honestly, real talk, completely, truthfully, is the grieving period in the morning of the idea of finding a partner. I thought I'd be married with kids by now. I
wanted to say something about this earlier, and there's like, like in my life, I've seen a lot of stuff, but there's like certain terms that I automatically label as low IQ right now, at least at this point, and label it as like regurgitation, like problematic. Like how many times you hear somebody say, "Oh, that's problematic," trying to sound clever or whatever they're trying to do. The other one that I have been thinking about lately, it really has started to bother me, is the term pattern recognition. Pattern recognition. It's just like when people call each other narcissists, it's like a really low IQ, like childish way of, you know what I mean? Like it's regurgitated, and it's just like this same tired, trite little phrase that people kick out there, like, black, like colored people in America. And then you hear, somebody calling them out for like crime or something they're doing. And then somebody else pipes up, "Yeah, it's just pattern recognition." Some jackass pipes, "Oh, it's just pattern recognition." Like, bro, why do people always feel the need to say that? I honestly, I'm not so sure that all that stuff is pattern recognition. I get pattern recognition, there is something to that, but like, it's not just recognizing patterns, because you can see patterns all over the place, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't know what the patterns are, why you're seeing a pattern. And I just get so tired of people using these terms because they sound intelligent, or whatever reason they use them, but they're trite and they're tired, like problematic, narcissist, pattern recognition. There's just these stupid, tired, meaningless phrases that people use. And the pattern recognition, that one's interesting because people use it as a way to shield themselves from the accusation of racism. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why people use it. They're trying to cut people off, head them off at the pass, so that they're not called racist. So it's ridiculous, though. It's not just pattern recognition. Like, honestly, it isn't. First of all, you have to understand why the pattern's there. It's like those physics shows that we were watching a week or two ago. You know, all of physics and basis of science and the quantum mechanics, or the mechanics of the cosmoses and stuff. Those things were observed. You know what I mean? Like somebody observed those things. And I'm sure many people observed them before Sir Isaac Newton or Faraday or, Galileo. I'm sure many people saw these phenomena before they did. And nothing came of it. Nobody, things weren't discovered. No, it required observation along with the depth of knowledge and the clever ability. It's like an ability to work out problems in your head, or like they say, I think quantum computers and a lot of computers, they're really high tech. Like you can get odds out of them. Like, what are the chances that such and such happens? Or they'll give you an answer, but the answer isn't. It's not that they know the answer. It's that it does probability. It's like the human brain. That's why I'm saying this is. I think it might even be AI, where you ask it a question and it comes up with a probability of two answers, basically, and even when it comes up with a definitive answer, it's not 100% positive that that's the answer. Like AI is that way too, I believe, where AI, it's not 100% positive that that's the answer, but it's overwhelmingly probable that that's the answer. That's the way humans work. That's the way our brains work. And when you have a wide depth of knowledge, a good depth of knowledge, a lot of times you can kind of just use probability or just kind of work things out in your head. Like I'll do kind of back of the envelope math, as sort of, for lack of a better term, but when I'm trying to figure something out, like that spinning football that as it pops up on end, like when I think in my head, I kind of think about all of the forces and the different physics and different forces that would be acting upon the ball. And then, I just kind of I work it out, sort of loosely. I just kind of, not guess, but I just kind of guesstimate. I use rough estimates. And I guess that's how AI works for the most part. But, a lot of our brain works in rough estimates. Even like, it works that way with a lot of things. I remember playing, what's that game called? The trivia game, where you just have a bunch of cards. Something trivia. It's like cognitive trivia. It's a game with trivia cards. And I remember when I was a kid, it asked a question: what's the only animal that has 4 knees? It was like 10. And I just I thought about it for like a few seconds. I was like, the elephant? It was the elephant is the only animal that has 4 knees. And I remember everybody looking at me like, what the hell? Like, how did you know that? I don't know. I just thought of all the animals I know, and that was the only one that I could kind of match up with 4 knees. Like, I didn't know it had 4 knees, but it's the only one that looks like it has 4 knees. But like, that you can do rough estimate kind of problems in your head. I don't know. I'm kind of getting lost on a rant there. But yeah, I get really tired of these played out terms, and they're lazy. They're lazy. It's people that just kind of want to not actually have to think, or not actually have to articulate what they're thinking. They just throw that stuff out there. And I think a lot of times it's not even like, they don't even, I think a lot of people don't even really know what this stuff means. They've just heard it used, like narcissist. Guaranteed most people don't know what narcissist is, or what it is, what it means, what it refers to. But man, they draw it like a gun, man. Everybody they don't like is a narcissist. It's ridiculous.
taking them to soccer practice or ballet class, and that's just not the reality.
This man ditched me on the first date. So we're out at dinner, everything's fine, the food's mid, but like whatever. I'm carrying the conversation, I'm being charming, I'm doing my part, but halfway through he's like, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. 5 minutes goes by, then 10 minutes, and I'm starting to be like, what's going on? Then 15 minutes.
I didn't even realize that was it.
The waiter comes by and is like, hey, is everything okay? So I'm like, I think I've been abandoned. And I check my phone. This man had blocked me. Mid-dinner, mid-meal, mid-bite, I was blocked. So now I'm sitting there alone with my half-eaten entree. Anyway, if you're seeing this, I hope the bathroom was worth it because you left your dignity at the table.
Left your dignity at the table. Shut up. Hey, he did just put out his 12/17. Okay, so it's 4 minutes ago. He put out the Leo. Oh wow, Google and Apple Pay are now accepted at af+. No way. Hell yeah.
This is Ryan Grimm with Drop Site News.
Did you guys see that Bonnie Blue? What a psychopath that woman is. Like, whoa, man. Psychopath. I seen her. She did like one of those LBC. It's a British morning news show or something like that. And she was talking to the lady and basically saying all these disgusting things that she was like doing porn while she's pregnant. And what was the other thing that she said that she was doing? Oh yeah, she's gonna turn her baby shower next week at the beginning of this weekend. Her baby shower, she's gonna change it into a golden shower, fellas. Yeah, her baby shower is gonna be a golden shower, bro. Just about made me throw up in my mouth, man. So vile, dude. This woman is so vile, and she's creepy looking, bro. She's so creepy looking. Why is this woman so creepy looking?
On the pregnancy and the baby.
I know, thank you.
Can I ask how far down you are?
Ugh.
Far enough to know
Couple of
the
hags.
baby's healthy, and I'm doing fine.
Good. Do you know the sex of the baby or not?
I do.
You're not sharing it?
Not yet.
No, okay, fair enough.
This would be too wholesome. I need to share it in a really disgusting manner.
Okay.
Wow,
can I ask
dude.
whether pregnancy, though, has changed your attitude to the work that you do?
No. I mean, it's been hard. Like, I've not found pregnancy easy. Like, morning sickness is well and truly throughout the whole day, and it's not just been in my first trimester.
Damn it. Yeah, booyah. Yes, sir. And I need to get better at capturing clips in my streams. Like every time I hit the play or the pause, the start button, I need to be hitting the replay or be hitting the clip button so that it captures the last 10 minutes of the stream. Because sometimes I get on pretty good little rants, man, and like big show. Oh, wait a second. Hell. There we go.
About Hassan Piker and his uncle, who have been banned from the United Kingdom as of yesterday. And technically, I don't know that they were banned. I don't believe they were permanently prohibited from entering the United Kingdom. However, it seems that for the time being, at least for this visit, for this trip, we'll talk about what they were there for. They have been denied entry officially by the British government, by the British Home Office.
Crazy.
And they say that this is because it would not be conducive to the public good if Hassan and his uncle Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks are allowed into the country to do some of their political activism. And so I saw this story today, or rather I saw it over the weekend. And it's really interesting because this is part of this unfolding conversation about a so-called right-wing, left-wing alliance to confront or challenge the influence of Israel in the United States. And as you know, I have said for weeks, months, I think I said at the beginning of the year, very strongly in January, this is not possible, nor is it even, I think, desirable. And this has been an evolving conversation. I've talked a lot about it on the show. I've talked a little bit about it on Telegram and given my thoughts about it. But this is, I think, another entry. This is another development in this ongoing conversation. And let me just say first, right out of the gate, obviously, I don't think people should be banned from entering the United Kingdom or Europe.
Hey, what's
and
up,
we know
Robin?
probably why this is happening. There has been an enormous push lately. I don't believe I've actually said this on the show yet, but I should now. There has been an enormous push, really just in the past few weeks and months, I've noticed it, to try to draw a comparison between me and Hassan Piker. And this has broader implications. There is a concerted effort by the Israel lobby and the Jewish lobby, specifically the censorship organizations, the anti-Semitism awareness organizations. They have been trying to create this equivalency between the far-right anti-Semites, which are probably represented by me, first and foremost, and now lately the left-wing anti-Semites or anti-Zionist, Israel-critical types like Hassan Piker, among others. But again, they see him as representative. And I've noticed this literally just in the past few weeks, couple months. This is why me and Hassan have been at war with each other so much lately, because he has really been under attack. Let's just be honest. There has been a big push to get him censored, to restrict his ability to do his activism. They say
Oh, crazy. Scary. It's not good. Huh. Yep. Yep. Damn. Solid. Right. Yeah. Well, now it's on Shank.
Question Everything 8750 says, video frozen.
Oh shit, might be. God damn it.
He hates us. He
Roll
wants
one
us
cigarette,
dead.
bro. Damn.
When
Tash
Charlie
Did
Kirk
Khan
got
says,
shot, he
video
was making
frozen.
jokes. He had
Thank you,
jokes
guys.
about it. He has advocated, not merely supported, not merely did not oppose. He has advocated for people like me and people like you and everybody else to be censored, to be victims of violent attacks, up to and including assassinations. He has advocated for hate speech laws, all these kinds of things.
Sure.
And now that it is finally affecting him and his uncle, oh, now it's a big problem. Now they say free speech is dead. Now they say the West has betrayed its values. Now it's a big problem. Well, that's really interesting because nobody had any problem with this when Kanye West, got banned from the UK just a couple of months ago. Nobody had a problem when it was Richard Spencer, Jared Taylor, even Lauren Southern. And I saw some people critiquing, I shouted her out on my post the other day, but it is true. All those people have been denied entry into the United Kingdom in particular over the years because they're against immigration. I don't remember a big stink being made about any of that. I don't remember any kind of both sides ecumenical approach. People saying, hey, I might not agree with Spencer on everything. I might not agree with race and IQ, but they should be allowed into the UK. I never heard that from the left, ever. From any part of the left, not the far left, not the center left. As a matter of fact, in one unified voice, they all supported that. They created that. They created the conditions for that to happen, and they cheered when it did. And now they say, conductor, we have a problem. Wow. People are being banned from the UK because we just criticized Israel. And here's the cherry on top. Are you ready? Here's the cherry on top. Watch this. Now that the ADL and the Jewish groups are coming after them, now that they're banned from the United Kingdom, you know what they say? They say, but we're not anti-Semites. We're just criticizing Israel. They say, no, you've got it all wrong. I'm not racist. I'm not violent. That was all taken out of context. No, that was a hyperbole. It was a joke. I didn't really mean that. I'm not really an anti-Semite. I'm not really a hater. It's so dishonest. How could you say that? Oh, really? Wow. Oh, so now, all these years later, now you want to say it's not fair? Oh, now it's not fair. Now it's not fair that everybody and anybody that has any criticism of the status quo is being called a bigot and being banned from entire countries because of it. Oh, now that's not fair. That's against the rules. Wait, time out. This is all a big misunderstanding. I don't hate Jews. I just think they're committing.
Wow, what the fuck? It froze again.
That is hilarious. Well, you know what? Get used to it. Get used to it. Settle in, because this is the game we have all been playing for our entire lives. In public, in private, on the platforms, across borders. This is the game we have been playing our entire lives. And by the way, they're still doing that. You know, Hassan Piker will, out of one side of his mouth, say, this isn't fair. I'm not really a hater. I just critique the status quo. Why am I being dragged out of your country? And then out of the other side of his mouth, he's going to say, there's no equivalency between me and Nick Fuentes. That dude is a fucking Nazi. That dude is a fucking Nazi. He's a Klansman. Okay, so, I mean, but this is the problem. The guy's an idiot. I think Cenk Uygur gets it a little better. Hassan Piker just doesn't even see the irony, doesn't see the contradiction. But anyway, we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about the situation in Lebanon and Iran. Get a load of this. Trump and Netanyahu have had another very tense phone call. Are we doing this again? We are doing all of it all over again. Last week, we talked about the Iran negotiations. They said we had a deal, right? Which they always do. They said a deal is within reach. We have a memorandum of understanding. All we need is the signatures. It's ready to go. And then there's all these attacks in the Persian Gulf. We're bombing Iran. Iran bombs the Emirates. They're drone striking our ships. We're bombing them again. Here we go again. This week, Trump says, no, they really want to make a deal. A deal is within reach. Iran says, no, the deal is off. We don't even want to talk anymore. Well, here's something a little bit fresh. It's not new, but it's a little bit more fresh. So one of the big hangups in these Iran negotiations is the fate of the war between Israel and Lebanon. Simultaneously, you really have two distinct conflicts, two theaters of conflict. You've got the war over the Persian Gulf between Iran, the United States, and a coalition of Gulf countries. But you've also got a major Israeli offensive against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel is not only bombing Hezbollah, they're also invading southern Lebanon on the ground. And that's not getting a lot of attention, but that is going on. And a big hang-up in the negotiation is that Iran is insistent that we end the war between Israel and Hezbollah as a condition for them to open up the strait in the Persian Gulf. And we cannot get Israel to do this because we have no control over them.
None.
Every time it seems that we are about to make a deal, a ceasefire, open the strait, Israel actually escalates the fighting in Lebanon on purpose to derail diplomacy. We are within reach of a deal. It's about to happen. Iran insists that we bring an end to the fighting in Lebanon. And what does this do? It effectively gives Israel a veto power over any deal. If Iran conditions the opening of the strait on the tempo or scale of the fighting in Lebanon, that means it's so it looks like we have a deal. Like I said, last week, they are saying that all that is required is a signature, and then we're ready to go. The strait is open, the war is over, and we can finally move on. Well, in response to this development, Netanyahu actually escalates the fighting. So we have a deal.
Psycho.
Okay, it's all good. We're ready to go. Hey, Netanyahu, you're going to stop the fighting in Lebanon, right? We need our oil. Netanyahu says, not only are we not going to stop, we're actually going to make it worse than ever. We're going to do the biggest offensive yet, and that is literally what they have done in the past week. Netanyahu says, not only are we going to keep fighting, it will intensify. It will be as intense as ever. They're talking about bombing the capital. They're invading the south. So, big development today. Axios is reporting that Trump had a very terse phone call with Netanyahu. Trump called him up and he let him have it. Trump said, "What the fuck are you doing? You're invading Lebanon. You're going to make everyone hate Israel. How could you do this? I got you out of jail. You owe me." This is literally the conversation. And then this story about the conversation was planted in the press today. And we are all supposed to believe that Trump is very unhappy with Netanyahu. And you know what is the punchline about this? This is exactly what Joe Biden did throughout 2024. You might remember when the genocide was ongoing in Gaza, when it was the most intense that it ever was, Biden was begging Netanyahu to stop. Please stop killing them. Please, it's ruining my presidency. Please, you're costing us the election. And Netanyahu refused. Netanyahu was taking foreign aid with both hands, and then he was doing whatever he wanted to do. And so what Biden would do in response is he would leak these types of stories, exactly this, to the Washington Post. And so every month you would get a story. Biden and Netanyahu had a very bad phone call. Biden said, "Listen up, Jack. We are not happy." And this just goes to show the impotence of the United States. We can do nothing. This is all we can do to Israel. Israel is 100% dependent on us. We are fighting their wars. Our president is doing personal and political favors for this government, and we cannot get them to do anything. Our economy is about to fucking explode. We're talking about gas shortages in September. Okay?
Bro.
We are running out of fuel. It's over. It's already over. Even if the strait opens tomorrow, it's over. The economy's crashing. We're running out of gas. Trump is trying as hard as he can, I believe, to end the conflict, and
oh, shit. God damn it, man.
Which is like a third-rate public. I read it every day. And I know some people there, some of the journalists there talk to me, and some of them are okay. But it is not. This is not even like the Washington Post. It's not the Journal. You're talking to Axios saying, hey, could you guys tell everybody that Netanyahu is not cool? Trump and his aides are calling up Axios. Hey, listen, you got to get the word out. Trump and Netanyahu are not cool. They just had a very bad phone call. It is not okay. Because we can do nothing else. We can't take their money. We can't sanction them. We can't put a blockade on their economy. All we could do is bitch on the phone to this guy and then tell the press.
Crazy.
That's the dynamic. So we'll talk about that too. It should be a pretty good show. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, don't forget to like
Remember
and subscribe,
to check out
fellas.
the merch store, Fuentes.store. We have our brand new spring collection. I'm told a summer collection may be imminent. The official summer collection may be happening at any time. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to support the show, subscribe at americafirst.plus. $15 a month, you get access to the archive of the show, every episode of the show ever, every debate, collaboration, commentary stream, speech, going back 10 years. It's all there. So check it out. For $100 a month, you get to be in the group chat with me. And I did a little show last week and over the weekend. So I did not do an episode of America First on Thursday and Friday, but in the group chat, I did a lot of content this weekend. I did a mini show on Thursday, did about a half hour, 40 minutes of content on Thursday. And I did another 30 minutes of content on Saturday, I believe. So if you're in the group chat, you're getting the bonus content, you're keeping in touch with me, and it's a great way to support the show. So americafirst.plus, check it out. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to dive in here. And yes, it's been a minute since I've done a show. I didn't do a show Thursday. There was just nothing going on in the news. There was nothing. I was getting ready. I'm reading the newspaper. There's nothing to cover. It's been a very slow few months. And then I was out of town this weekend. We had some interesting meetings over the weekend. I was out there in Miami. They love me down there. I was out there in Miami. We were south, we were north, we were all over the city. We were in North Miami, perhaps. Perhaps we were in North Miami a little bit. And it's a good time. I have to say, they love me down there. They love me everywhere, but they really love me in Miami. I get a lot of love in New York, but in Miami, it's like everybody fucks with me there. I'm in the Brickell City Center. Everybody loves me there. I'm in Miami Beach. I didn't go to Baccarat. I didn't want to blow up Clav's spot. I know I said the other week, I'm like, Clav, would you let me in? I didn't want to go. He said it was cool, but I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to make any trouble. I don't want the mayor of the city to wipe everybody out again like last time. But yeah, anyway, so I just got back in town today and I'm ready to do the show. Hopefully another full week. Hopefully a full week this week, but no promises. But anyway, so yeah, not too much going on. I want to just jump right into the show. We'll get into it because we do have a lot to talk about. And our first story is about Hassan Piker. Like I said, this weekend, it was revealed that Hassan and his uncle Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, apparently they were planning to visit the United Kingdom for this Oxford debate. I guess Cenk Uygur was debating somebody, I don't remember who exactly, but he was there at Oxford Student Union to do a debate. Hassan, his nephew, I don't know if they went together. I don't know, are they still tight as a family? I don't really know the dynamic, but his nephew was also there to go to the South by Southwest. Is that what that is? It says SXSW London. I assume that's South by Southwest, but I'm not really in the loop. I'm not tapped in on that. But he was there for that. They were visiting the United Kingdom, and they were denied entry into the country. And to me, this is a huge surprise. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. Of course, this sort of thing happens all the time to right-wing people. And it has happened. This has happened to Richard Spencer. It has happened to Jared Taylor. It most recently has happened to Ye. I was worried it was going to happen to me. going into Europe recently or last year, a couple years ago. But I've never seen it happen to somebody liberal or on the far left. So this might be a first. I've been doing this show for almost a decade. I can't think of a single other example of it. It might be a first. They were denied entry into the United Kingdom. I don't believe it's on a permanent basis, but their entry was reviewed by the British Home Office, and I guess they made a spontaneous decision that they were not going to be let into the country. And this is a story from the New York Times. It says, quote, Britain said on Monday that it had blocked entry to two prominent American commentators, Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker, because of their potential risk to British society. Mr. Uygur and Mr. Piker, two progressive activists with popular social media channels, were set to speak at events in Britain this week. Both expressed outrage on social media and accused the British authorities of canceling their travel authorization because of their vocal criticism of Israel. Imagine that. You hate to see that. Oh, I hate to see it. No, someone from the far left got censored for criticizing Israel. Time out. This isn't fair. Does the government know this is against the Constitution or something? Call the United Nations. Isn't it just so refreshing? It's like that TikTok sound. Refreshing. Isn't this so refreshing? Finally. Because in case you missed it, this has been all of our lives for 10 years. And it sucks. I have been treated, you know what I'm about to say. I have been treated like a second-class citizen for a decade because I criticized Israel on the right wing. Because when I turned 18 and went to college, I said, hey, what's going on with foreign aid? Why does Israel get all this foreign aid and they're the #1 recipient? And then it was just a cascade. I was banned from CPAC, and I was banned from the airlines, and I was banned from Airbnb and PayPal and Stripe and Facebook, like you name it. Now on the far left, they're banned because of their criticism of Israel. Wow, well, you hate to see that. Now we have a problem. The article goes on, it says the British Home Office, which manages border security, said in an emailed statement that the authorizations of the two commentators had been canceled because their presence in Britain may not be conducive to the public good. The Home Office said that a decision to deny entry for that reason was based solely on an assessment of the potential risk an individual may pose to British society. The statement did not mention Mr. Uygur or Mr. Piker's criticism of Israel, nor any of their views. Mr. Uygur criticized the decision in a social media post, saying it was due to my criticism of Israel, calling the move absolutely Kafkaesque. Sucks, doesn't it? I know, it is Kafkaesque. It is, isn't it? It really is. Dude, that is the most, please, fill up my cup. Yes, more of that. I'll have another, please. Thank you. Yes, a second.
Another beverage, please, sir.
He says it's Kafkaesque. It is. It really is. I know. How does that feel? And so when you tried to enter the country and the government of the UK told you your presence was not conducive to the public good and there was no recourse, and how did you feel about that? How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? Frustrated, helpless, powerless? Did it feel irrational, nonsensical?
Oppressive?
How did that make you feel when you had to get right back on a plane and go home and cancel all your plans? What was that like? I want to savor all those little emotions. Yeah, what was that like? He says it was absolutely Kafkaesque. I know. First time? Anyway. And who had been set to speak at the South by Southwest London Festival, said on social media on Sunday that he had been banned from entering Britain at the behest of Israel. Wait a second. Hassan Piker is saying, based on absolutely no evidence, that he was censored merely for his political views? I don't know. I think you should have just not been a fucking communist. Wait. Hassan Piker is saying, based on absolutely no evidence, that he was persecuted by a foreign government at the behest of Israel? Well, do you have evidence for that? No. Okay. Well, did they say that? No. Okay. Well, then that sounds like a conspiracy theory. You're telling me that governments and multinational corporations engage in censorship at the behest of a foreign country and they create a fake pretext of racism or lie about it to thwart your activism? Well, unless you have any evidence, that just sounds like you're being a victim. That just sounds like you're a left-winger crying about censorship when there is no right-wing bias. There is no bias against left-wingers, and trying to impugn the reputation of the Jews in Israel, I don't know, that just sounds like a vile conspiracy theory. You just sound like you're crying. Maybe it's because you're an asshole. Have you ever thought maybe it's because you're a communist jerk? And that's the real reason? Maybe it's because you promote violence on your stream. Maybe it's because you promote stochastic terrorism. Maybe it's because your words constitute a form of violence. Did you ever consider that? Instead of blaming the Jews, instead of blaming the government.
This is funny.
Evidence.
This is ironic.
See, this is what we have been dealing with for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And now it's happening to them. Now they say, oh, I was banned at the behest of Israel. I know. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Anyway, he goes on. We're going to get serious about it in a minute. We're going to have a little bit of fun with it as a treat. It goes on and says, the decision to block Mr. Uyghur and Mr. Piker follows the move in April to deny entry to Ye, the American rapper formerly known as Kanye West, because of his history of anti-Semitic comments. A Jewish protection group in Britain, the Community Security Trust, said in an emailed statement on Monday that it welcomed the decision to block Mr. Piker. David Taylor, a lawmaker from the governing Labour Party in Britain, also supported the decision to bar Mr. Piker, writing on social media, "There is no reason to open our doors to those who seek to spread hate and division." I know, I agree. So look, it is 100% true that they were banned for criticizing Israel. That is absolutely undeniable. And that is what the story should reflect. I mean, this is what should be said, is that Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur were banned from entering the UK because they criticize Israel. It is not because they are left-wing. It is not because they are liberal. All of their views are actually mainstream in the United Kingdom.
Yep.
Being a socialist, being a progressive, being secular, or being far left, being a feminist, all these things are mainstream and represented in British government. And so what is the difference between them and the common denominator is your position on Israel. If you are right or left and pro-Israel, you're good. If you are left or right and criticize Israel, you're not good. And what is the structure of this? How does this work? As we talk about, it is not just an Israel lobby. The Israel lobby is subsidiary of an umbrella which is much larger.
Global Jewry.
Israel itself, by the way, is subsidiary to an umbrella which is much larger, an umbrella structure, an umbrella organization. And my preferred term that I use is organized Jewry. What do I mean by this? You have large populations of Jews living in many countries throughout the world. This is a fact. There are a lot of Jews in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Germany, in France, in Israel,
American
elsewhere. And what do they do in these countries? Well, first and foremost, they identify as Jews. They identify as religious Jews or ethnic Jews, or both, or they have some semblance of Jewish identity that maybe is cultural. But they are Jews, identify as such in many countries, and what they tend to do is organize on this basis. They create these affinity, fraternal, political, all kinds of organizations for their collective benefit. They want to keep an eye on anti-Semitism because it affects anyone that identifies as a Jew. If I say I'm a Jew, well, then I have an interest in the society not being anti-Semitic because they think I'm a Jew, and then they're going to try to hurt me or discriminate against me. So they'll form these anti-Semitism advisory committees, or they'll have federations and congresses to govern their local community, or they'll form all kinds of other manner of organizations to lobby the government on behalf of Israel or on behalf of Jewish values or in favor of religious tolerance, all these kinds of things. So they exist throughout the world as a diaspora. They are a religious ethnic minority. They have a common interest. They have a very powerful sense of togetherness and identity. They organize on the basis of that, and then they become quite powerful. Those organizations communicate with each other on a global, transnational level. And so the organized Jews in Germany are talking to the organized Jews in France, and the organized Jews in France are talking to those in the UK, and those in the UK talk to those in America. And it makes them quite powerful. And then they will lobby on behalf of their own interests, which frequently consists in 1, supporting Israel, and 2, policing anti-Semitism, suppressing criticism of Jews in Israel wherever it might crop up, online, in politics, in the public square. So how does this work? Well, we see it very plainly. When Ye tried to do a concert in the United Kingdom, the top Jewish organization spoke to the government. And the Jewish organizations have a lot of pull and influence over the government because Jews are very rich and very powerful and very connected. And they're connected in the United States and in other countries. So they put in a word to the Home Office and they said, we don't want this guy in the country. We don't want this guy who made a song called Heil Hitler performing a concert in our country, so he's got to go. And the British Home Office, which is deeply involved with Israel, deeply involved with the Jewish groups, there's a Jewish caucus in the House of Commons. They say, understandable, and they carry out the order. The same thing has happened here. The Jewish interest organization hit up the government and said, look at what Hassan and Schenck say about Jews in Israel. It's spreading hatred. They got to go. And the government does it.
Yep. No questions asked.
This is what has happened. And let me
Yep.
Tashdik Khan says, sound down.
He is against the Netanyahu regime. He is against what they are doing in Gaza. And is for this position. They're not allowed in the country. And think about how disturbed this is, that increasingly this is how the entire Western world works. You cannot enter the United Kingdom, anybody for that matter, if you are a prominent person that has criticized Israel. So if you're against Israel, you're not only against Israel, you're also not welcome in the UK. But it's also true in Germany. There was a decision made in Germany in 2024. They said, we will deny citizenship applications to anyone that has protested against Israel's campaign in Gaza. So if you're against Israel, you're against the United Kingdom and Germany as well. But it's also the United States. The U.S. State Department is reviewing 50,000 visas, which is every visa holder in the United States.
Wow.
And specifically looking at their social media accounts to see if they've ever criticized Israel either. They do this to prospective visa applicants that might travel here as tourists, people that might travel here as journalists, people that might travel here as students or workers. So if you have ever criticized Israel, you're an enemy over there. You're also an enemy in Germany. You're an enemy in the UK. You're an enemy in the United States. And it's getting to the point where our entire civilization is constituted on the basis of whether you support Jews in Israel. And it really begs the question, who is running our society? If you can't set foot on the land in Europe, if you're an enemy of Israel, who's in control? Yeah. If you cannot set foot on the land in the United States of America, if you've criticized Israel, Australia too. Yeah, in Australia, they're banning the Roman salute, any kind of support of Hitler. They banned a political party that identified as National Socialist, putting people in jail that have violated their hate speech guidelines. They banned Sneeko in Australia a couple weeks ago. If you cannot set foot on the land in Australia, the US, the UK, Germany, probably elsewhere too, if you're an enemy of the Jews in Israel, who's really in charge here? And notice, by the way, there is nothing comparable if you've actually criticized those governments themselves. I could say, fuck Germany. Germany is an evil country. German identity inherently leads to National Socialism. They all bear the blood guilt of Adolf Hitler and the Holocaust. If I say this, I can go to Germany. If I say, fuck the British, if I say the British identity necessarily leads to colonialism and mercantilism, and they're an evil people, they're responsible for genocide, it's in their DNA, they must be destroyed, I could go to the United Kingdom. If I say the same about the United States, if I say the same about Australia, I'm allowed in. And it happens all the time. If you're a Muslim that says death to America, you can come to America. If you're some third world communist that says America's an evil country, the original sin of slavery, you can come on in. If you're a Jew, America's the modern Roman Empire, they stole our menorah, they need to burn, well, they give you a gift basket. They say you want the points or the free breakfast, and they let you in. But if you criticize the Jews in Israel, shut it down. Get TSA over here, inspect his bags, go through the metal detector. We've got one. He's criticized the Jews. How sick is that? So let's be very clear at the outset. That is exactly what happened. They did get banned from the UK for criticizing Jews in Israel. It happens all the time. And it also happens in every other country too. It's not exclusive to the UK. It's actually spreading. It's here, it's Germany, it's Australia, it's Canada, it's everywhere. And this has some deep implications for how our society is actually constituted, who actually wields the power. It doesn't work like that for any other group. You can be anti-Muslim, you could be anti-Christian, you could be anti-white, you can be anti-anything. You just cannot be anti-Semitic and live in a white country. Because the Jews run all the white countries, period, end of story. And obviously this is deeply problematic and wrong. However, let us also point out the obvious, which is how did it get to this point? Was it ever the case that the Jews as a group prevailed in the political sphere because they said, vote for me? I want to ban anyone that criticizes Israel from the United States. Was that ever the pitch? Was that ever the campaign? Did we ever vote for that? Was that ever a law with a popular mandate, let's say? I don't remember that. I don't remember that ever happening in Germany, the UK, the US. I don't remember a US candidate ever saying explicitly and in a big way, hey, we need to make sure that nobody that has ever criticized Israel is ever allowed into America again. We don't care what the criticism is, they just can't set foot on the soil. That's not how it started. And as a matter of fact, that never happened. It started in the civil rights era, and even a little before that. But it notably started in the civil rights era with the new left, the far left in the 60s and 70s, when they started to say there was such a thing as racism. Racism and sexism and anti-Semitism were the scourge. And we have to get rid of all the racist, sexist, anti-Semitic quotas and laws in the government. And then we have to fight those racist, sexist, anti-Semitic attitudes among the population through education. And then we need to make sure that nobody can exist that has those views. We need to go further. Anybody that holds those views in their mind or speaks them out loud, that's how this started. Who created these policies on hate speech? Who created these policies closing the borders to people because of their political views? Who created the Trust and Safety Commission on YouTube? Who created the community guidelines? It was far left organizations that were constituted during the civil rights era. It was the SPLC, a far left organization that is thick with the Democrats. It was the ADL, which has become a far left organization that is run by an Obama administration alum for the past 15 years. It is Media Matters for America, a left-wing organization. Right Wing Watch, which is a subsidiary of George Soros' People for the American Way. It was 100% unilaterally the far left that created all of this architecture and militated in favor of it. They want hate speech laws. They want so-called hate speech eradicated from the internet. They want hate speech to be punished in the workforce. They believe that if you use hate speech, your friends should ostracize you. You should be doxxed. You should be cast out and maybe even targeted on social media. And what is fascinating is now that the far left has fallen victim to their own censorship machine, now they want to cry about it. Cenk Uygur and Hassan Piker have been the beneficiaries of these policies their entire lives, their entire careers. Insofar as they are left-wing, they are fighting the right wing. And using hate speech as a pretext, Jewish organizations, left-wing organizations, the government have absolutely routed the right wing for decades. Targeted their funding, targeted their platforms, their leadership, their organizations. And this has been done in the private sector and the public sector with the force of law and with commerce, with the money power. And for decades, the two of them have been the sole and exclusive beneficiaries of this. Why do you think Hassan Piker is such a popular Twitch streamer? You think it has something to do with the fact that Twitch banned everybody else? Everybody to the right of John McCain has been banned on Twitch for the past 8 years? And you think that does not confer a benefit on Hassan Piker as a political streamer? Everybody from me to Sneeko to anybody on the alt-right, anybody on the dissident right, anybody like Asmongold, they cannot express a center-right opinion. They cannot use terminology like tranny or incel or simp without being banned on Twitch. You don't think that has something to do with the fact that Hassan Piker is now the biggest political streamer on Twitch? They banned all his competition under hate speech. Same goes for the institutions, not just in politics, but elsewhere. It has been effectively criminalized to have an anti-establishment, sex and gender, feminism, Jews in Israel. So if you are in culture, Hollywood, business, Wall Street, tech, you name it, if you are not on board with that progressive agenda, you will be rooted out, fired, and destroyed. It happened to Palmer Luckey, happened to many other people. You don't think that confers a benefit on people like Hassan and Cenk? You don't think they're more connected? Because through a filtering mechanism, everybody in the powerful institutions has their views. If you don't express allegiance to their views, you get kicked out under that program. So this has been our lives for years. They have benefited from it. They are the beneficiaries of the system, and they created it. They have promoted it. They are out there in the streets with Antifa. They are leading the charge, advocating for people like me to be censored, among other people. They've been leading the charge, calling for censorship policies to get more restrictive and tighter, advocating for even violence against people like myself or Charlie Kirk or whoever. And now, all these years later, now the chickens are coming home to roost, and they say, wait a second, this was supposed to only happen to Nazis. You're telling me I'm banned from entering the UK? I'm being targeted by the ADL? I'm being kicked off Twitch temporarily because I'm being called the bigot? That's only supposed to happen to the right. That's only supposed to happen to Nazis. Now it's happening to me?
No fair.
And what's funny is this is the cope. Hassan and his uncle say, well, wait a second, we're being targeted just because we criticized Israel. Yeah, welcome to our lives, bro. Oh, you're just being targeted because you criticized Israel? That's all anybody has ever done, is criticize feminism, criticize black people, criticize Jews in Israel. It never mattered. You were called a sexist, a racist. You were called an anti-Semite. They say, wait, but not us. We're cool. We're just criticizing the secular government of Israel's policies. We don't hate Jews. That's the Nazis like Nick Fuentes. Now you're banning us? Yeah, welcome to our world. That has been the story, not just on this issue, but on every issue. And what's really rich about that, it was just this weekend that Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian on the Young Turks had this conversation. Cenk Uygur said the difference between us, Tucker, Candace, and Nick Fuentes, he says, is that Nick Fuentes actually is an anti-Semite.
He did say that, too.
Why? Cenk Uygur says, because I try to connect Jews and Israel. Imagine that. Cenk says, unlike Nick Fuentes, who is a real anti-Semite because he thinks Jews have something to do with Israel, he says, we are not anti-Semitic. He says, me, Anna, Tucker, Candace, we are not anti-Semitic because we will not connect Jews and Israel. We are different. We are merely criticizing Israel, doing nothing else. He says, and we all get lumped together. That's not fair. Oh, imagine that. Well, wait a second. Hey, Cenk, Hassan, did you try telling Jonathan Greenblatt that you're the good ones? Wait, you're telling me that you're not really a hater. You just have some legitimate concerns. Try calling Jonathan Greenblatt and tell him that. Say, look, we oppose Israel. We don't hate Jews. It's all a big misunderstanding. Did you try apologizing? That's a good trick. Maybe try apologizing. See if that works. Maybe if you spend the rest of your life apologizing and clarifying and trying not to get a bad soundbite and trying to pick your words exactly correctly and live a perfect life above any kind of scrutiny, maybe then Jonathan Greenblatt will see that you really are not a Jew hater. Or, on the other hand, maybe that's not really the point. Or maybe it's not a misunderstanding, and what is not needed is another clarification, another apology. What is not needed is to choose your words more carefully, calibrating the exactly perfect sentence, clarifying and conditioning and qualifying every step of the way what I mean, what I do not mean. I'm a good person.
All
not
to
a
placate
bigot.
the Jays.
Maybe
Bullshit.
all of that is futile.
Yes.
Because you don't mean that. They know you don't mean that. And they just don't care because that's not really what it has ever been about.
No.
Maybe you're not an anti-Semite and I'm not an anti-Semite and they know that, but they don't care. And they will call you that anyway because it confers upon them a political advantage. Jewish organizations have a monopoly on who gets called an anti-Semite. They've made it that way. It's the Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, which sets the definition. It's been passed into law across the country and in Europe. Jewish organizations alone have the authority, have the credibility to determine who is anti-Semitic and who isn't. And they do it very liberally and very irresponsibly and recklessly, but it's their power. And what happens when someone is called an anti-Semite? Well, their life is destroyed. Yeah, they don't get allowed into certain countries. And Yeah, they're not allowed to make money with certain banks and payment processors, and they're not allowed to access certain services or social platforms, or they're not allowed into certain institutions or parties or clubs or membership organizations. And so do you think that if the Jews have the power to effectively ostracize any person, that they might take advantage of that? They might abuse that extraordinary power? They alone get to determine who's an anti-Semite and cast them out of society. You don't think there's potential for abuse? Well, let's take it a step further. Maybe they are not abusing this power which they incidentally have. Maybe do you think that is why these attitudes surrounding anti-Semitism have been reinforced in Hollywood, in education, in politics?
It's a weapon that
why
they
do you
can
think
use.
it is that calling someone an anti-Semite is such an extraordinary scarlet letter?
That's what I was saying earlier.
Because we have been conditioned for decades to believe that that is the worst thing a person can be.
Man.
Because of the Holocaust and Hitler and the myth of Hitler. We have been watching since we're 7 years old, Boy in the Striped Pajamas and Schindler's List and reading Night by Elie Wiesel and going to the museum and looking at the shoes. And who's paying for all that? Who's paying for these movies? Who's making these movies? Who's making mandate this in the curriculum in the public schools? Who created the system, this infrastructure to reinforce these attitudes that makes that such a scarlet letter and gives these people this power? Are they abusing a power which they happen to have? Or was there a little bit more intentionality behind the system? Is there an element of design?
Bro, this is exactly what I've been talking about.
Is there perhaps an incentive for them as a group to have made it this way? Because it makes them this powerful.
Yes, yes.
If you've got something to say about Jews that makes them uncomfortable, you better be careful, because they will take your banks, they will take your deals, they will take your family, they will take your house, they will put you in a cage, they will ban you from Europe, you won't be able to perform in a stadium, you won't be able to go to the music festival. So you better think twice before you criticize Israel or their policies, or if you say anything artistic, or if you make them uncomfortable in any way.
Kanye.
That is a godlike power that they have. I don't think Jesus has this power politically on earth. You can offend Muhammad, you can offend Jesus, you can offend Muslims, you can offend the country in which you reside. But Jews, you better watch your words, because it is like a blasphemy. It is like uttering a blasphemy.
And that's the way they want it.
It's like the first commandment. It's like having another God before them. It is like mocking God. If you are to make a joke at their expense, criticize something they believe in, if you are to stand in the way,
they
God
want
forbid,
us to
of their
worship
interests,
them.
This is a country, this is a civilization which has made Jews an idol. It is idolatry. They run this country, they run this civilization like they are the king of our civilization.
Oh.
And people think this is all just a big misunderstanding.
No.
They say, wait a second, we're not anti-Semitic. Nick Fuentes is. We're the good ones. Hey, you fucking idiot. Hey, Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, Hassan Piker, I know all of you got red-pilled yesterday. I know you guys never really went in on Israel until October 7th, but speaking as somebody that has been under attack for the past 10 years, and speaking from the right, which has been targeted far more than the left ever has, this is what is actually going on. And they want to isolate and separate me out to save themselves.
Yeah.
And they've done that to the broader right wing over the years.
Yep.
They say, oh, if you criticize
those are the
Jews from
real,
the right, you're
those are the real anti-Semites. That's what they say.
Nazi, and you deserve it. You criticize Jews in Israel as a right-winger? Well, that's because you're an anti-Semite. That's because you're a vile Nazi. And so you deserve it. You deserve to be banned and punched in the face and whatever. Oh, well, when us leftists do it, when us on the left do it,
we're good.
Well, we are doing it in a liberal way that is responsible. It's not blood guilt. We're not holding them all responsible. We're only criticizing the government. When it happens to us, it's actually really unfair. and it's a big misunderstanding, and we didn't mean it,
We don't
and this
deserve
is out of
this.
control. And they're doing this routine right up to when they themselves are being banned.
Yep.
And I want to say, do you think this is all just a big coincidence? You think this is all just happening by magic? This is happening
Serious.
by design. And right up until you get banned from the United Kingdom, they want to say there's this big, oh, those guys over there are the problem. We're just misunderstood. No, I think you misunderstand what this is.
Man, Nick really fucking, he's really dropping
you
bombs.
Can cast me out. You can disavow me. You can say it's not the Jews and it's not even Israel. It's Netanyahu until you are blue in the face. They do not care.
No.
It is about their agenda. It is about their interests. And by the way, let me tell you something else. If they ever turn around and say, maybe Hassan Piker should be let back in, the only reason they'll do it is because they'll say, for us to go after the far left might be a bad look and might make it look like we're going too far. But make no mistake about it, this is about targeting, isolating, and punishing anybody that opposes their agenda. It doesn't matter whether you hate Jews or not. I don't hate Jews. I'm Christian. We don't hate anybody. We especially don't hate Jews. That does not matter. It does not matter. They don't even believe it when they say that. Anti-Semitism is a word they made up. It is a weapon that they forged so that they could have this absolute political power.
So they could censor people.
To kill at will, to take anybody out at
Control the
will,
narrative.
and create the chilling effect which you have been complicit in for the past 10 years. Will there be any self-reflection? No. Will there be any compromise? No. Are they even smart enough to understand this? I'm not sure that they are. And I find that to be the richest of all ironies. You're really going to sit there and say, what?
Oh, shit.
Happened to Richard Spencer, Jared Taylor, Ye, Lauren Southern. You people cheered for it. You created it. And just the other day, you were trying to do this again. You were trying to enforce that double standard by saying it's Nick Fuentes that's a Nazi. He's really as bad as the Jews say he is. We're the good guys. Well, you know what? That and a couple of British pounds will buy you breakfast at Greg's if they ever let you back in. Okay? They say, literally on Saturday, they're doing a show that Nick Fuentes, he's really an anti-Semite because he believes in blood guilt, right? They give that routine. We're the good guys. He's the bad guy. He believes in blood guilt. You know, when they're delegitimizing our righteous cause by lumping us in with the real anti-Semite. We just need to clarify for everybody that we have the best and purest intentions. And you want to say best intentions? You think it's that simple? Well, try telling him that. Jonathan Greenblatt's a lifelong Democrat. Try telling him that. Try telling the SPLC. Call your Jewish connections and tell them I'm just a wholesome Chungus leftist that is against the genocide. See if they could get you into the Labour government in the UK. It's a left-wing government, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
It's a center-left government. It's a Labour government. They probably would have supported it 18 months ago. And now they want to say, oh my gosh, this is just a big misunderstanding. It's so Kafkaesque. This is outrageous. It's been outrageous. And by the way, the only people that Jewish organized Jewry truly fears is the far right. Why do you think we have been the enemy? Because it is only through our collective power and action that we are going to be able to take power from them and give it back to the nation. That's why we've been under the gun more than the liberals have.
They took their stuff
The left and the liberals have brought in feminism and brought in multiculturalism and all this immigration. It makes the country weak. People power, workers of the world unite. That is just not going to work against organized Jewry in the same way that a more nativist type unity would. So anyway, so that's Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. World's smallest violin, world's tiniest violin playing just for these people. They created this monster, created censorship. They gloated about it. gloated about it for years, and now it is finally happening to them. Like I said at the top of the show, there is a concerted push now to blackball Hassan Piker in just the same way as me, and he will be kicking and screaming until he's banned from just as much stuff as I am, saying it's a misunderstanding that him and I are nothing alike. And in a sense, he's right. But let me tell you something. This is the last thing I'll say about it. Then we're going to move on. Let the left be destroyed. Why would we save them? Fuck them. Seriously. Why would the right wing, think about where we are as the dissident right. We have been utterly annihilated. Where are you watching this show? Where are you watching this show? We are going to feel bad for Hassan Piker on Twitch. We are going to feel bad for the multi-millionaire Hassan Piker who wears $10,000 Balenciaga coats, and he's on Twitch, and he has banking services, and he's never been on a no-fly list. We're going to feel bad for him from
Shit. The fuck?